innovation, money, and power collide in Silicon Valley and beyond. This is Bloomberg Technology with Emily Chang.
I'm Emily Chang in San Francisco, and this is Bloomberg Technology. Coming up in the next hour, White House officials in early discussions about President Biden taking a trip to Europe as Russia's assault on Ukraine only escalates. The U.S. now calling on China to put pressure on Putin to end the war. This as Instagram goes dark across Russia. The Russian government has now cut off access to Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll examine how the digital Iron Curtain is impacting everyday Russians. And China dealing with a crisis of its own. Hong Kong facing the worst COVID outbreak since the pandemic began. China the worst since Wuhan in 2020. Why the technology behind the vaccine most widely used in China may be failing. We'll get to that in a moment, but first, yet another volatile day in the markets. Despite a morning rally, stocks falling after a new round of talks between Russia and Ukraine broke down. Let's bring in Bloomberg's Sonali Basak with the very latest. Sonali, another volatile day.
Another volatile day, and mostly on the downside. You saw risk really taken off the table in most major asset classes. If you take a look here, the S&P 500 really did see a little bit of a decline, less than 1%. The NASDAQ, an even steeper decline, about 2%. The 10-year yields up, prices down. The yield had risen above 2% yet again. As the curve flattened, that's another big indicator that people are really worried there about the future. The Bloomberg Commodity Index, as people really worry about supply chains, also down more than 2%. Among one of the most drastic declines here, I do want to show you, Emily, the NASDAQ Golden Dragon China Index, because you see everything from Alibaba, JD.com to Baidu really falling here. The whole index off more than 70% since that peak you see over there in 2021. You had first investors really worried about crackdown in technology, then worries about delisting, and now investors really worried about that relationship between Beijing and Russia. So as investors factor that all in, we are seeing an even steeper sell-off, almost 12% down just today alone.
All right, Sonali, thanks for that. I want to continue our coverage on the latest in Ukraine now and bring in Bloomberg's Nick Wadhams. He is our senior foreign policy reporter with us from Washington. Nick, I want to start on the latest on this trip President Biden may be taking to Europe. What's the latest that we're hearing from White House officials about whether this will happen?
Well, I think what you're going to see is the president feels that it is time for him to essentially get out there and make those connections with foreign leaders and put new pressure on Vladimir Putin. I mean, a huge element of President Biden's approach to the Ukraine crisis has essentially been to project unity with European allies. You now have this news that China is drifting closer and closer to Russia. So what President Biden really wants to show is that the U.S., along with the UK, with France, with Germany, we haven't gotten a list of the countries where he would go, but those countries, as well as the Baltic states that are feeling anxious that Russia may not stop at Ukraine, he really wants to show that the U.S. has their backs and will do everything it can to support the NATO alliance should things even get worse beyond Ukraine.
At this point, what is the status of getting China more involved here and President Xi's willingness to put more pressure on Vladimir Putin?
Well, it all seems to be going in the wrong direction in a lot of ways. We were told today that essentially China has agreed to offer some form of military and economic support to Russia. At least that's the assessment of U.S. officials, and they are letting allies in Europe know that this could be a problem and try to put more pressure on China. So the administration had really hoped that China could be a counterbalance. It could potentially open the door, put pressure on Vladimir Putin to negotiate. If China's doing that, it's doing it very much behind the scenes. But right now, publicly at least, China is firmly in Russia's corner.
Meantime, you have Russia continuing to cut off access to social media across the country. Instagram, just the latest platform to go dark. We're preparing to hear from Ukrainian President Zelensky, who will be speaking before U.S. Congress as talks between Russia and Ukraine just seem to sputter today. Any sign of progress? I mean, when do we expect a new round of talks to begin?
Well, I think what you'll see is there will be more talks, but whether or not they achieve anything is going to be the real conundrum. And, that's in part why Vladimir Zelensky is going to Congress. Congress has been a great ally of the Ukrainian president. They've put a ton of pressure on the Biden administration to move more quickly on tougher sanctions. And, the big thing that Ukraine wants is more military aid. They've been pushing for that no-fly zone, despite the fact that the administration says that doing that would put them essentially into direct confrontation with Russia. But he really wants to put more pressure on Congress so that Congress, in turn, including Democrats, I mean, this is a bipartisan thing, will put more pressure on Joe Biden, not only to ratchet up sanctions, but potentially give Ukraine more military and other aid.
All right, Bloomberg's Nick Wadhams for us in Washington. So much to continue to follow. Thank you for all of those updates. Coming up, Russia banning Instagram, the digital Iron Curtain dropping farther across the country. What it means for Facebook, Meta, and citizens across Russia next. And speaking of Meta, we're going to hear from Nintendo veteran Reggie Fils-Aimé, one of the most widely followed gaming executives. He's not a fan of Mark Zuckerberg's vision for the metaverse and goes so far as to say Facebook is not innovating. My conversation with him from the South by Southwest Festival after the break. This is Bloomberg. Russia's promised ban on Instagram has now kicked into full effect, with the social media platform inaccessible for the vast majority of the country's population. I want to bring in Bloomberg's Kurt Wagner now for more on this. Kurt, what does this exactly mean for everyday Russians, given that Facebook and Twitter have already been cut off?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're moving towards a relatively dangerous spot here, right? Where suddenly Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, these are services that were really connective tissues between the Russian people and obviously the rest of the world. In a crisis like this, it's where a lot of people could get information and news that wasn't directly kind of approved by Russian state-backed media. And so, you look at what's happening now and you wonder, are we ever going to get back to this, right? Is this maybe the beginning of Russia is kind of looking a little bit more like China, with a closed version of the internet? And I don't know what happens after this, but obviously it's a pretty significant deal. Russia's a lot smaller than China from a total population and user perspective, but it's a really big deal just symbolically of what this means and what this might look like moving forward.
Absolutely. China blocking Facebook and Twitter around the Beijing Olympics in 2008 and never unblocking it. Right. So you wonder if that's what's going to happen here. I'm curious, in Russia, how widespread are the use of VPNs and other means to get around the firewall? Is that common?
Well, it's the kind of thing that companies are trying to make accessible, right? I think we saw last week that Twitter, for example, created a version of its website for the Tor browser, so that if anyone wanted to kind of get around this ban, they might be able to. They might be able to kind of use the quote unquote dark web to access these services. But Emily, that's not the kind of thing that's necessarily accessible to the vast majority of people, right? That's for people who are pretty tech savvy. That's for people who are really going above and beyond to try and figure out how to still keep these services in their life. The vast majority of people, unless they can simply get it on their phone, it means they're not going to have access to it. And so I think that this is something that, to your point, like, are we seeing the beginning of a major change here that might not be rolled back? And I think the answer might be yes.
We're also seeing some major changes from the platforms themselves. Facebook, for example, relaxing the rules to allow Ukrainians to talk about violence in the context of Russia's war on Ukraine. And that's really what seemed to trigger the Russian government. Instagram was a place a lot of people had turned to protest the war in Russia. Where will these Russian citizens go to next? What social media outlets are available to them?
Well, the one service that continually keeps getting brought up is Telegram. Now, I don't know if that's the kind of place where people will be able to organize in the same way or to promote things publicly in the same way. It's a private messaging app, obviously similar to WhatsApp, Telegram. There are groups, there are ways to broadcast that way, but it has a different vibe, Emily, as you know. And so I think, you talked about what the platforms are doing. I mean, the Instagram thing in particular was announced by Russian regulators after Facebook came out and said, hey, Ukrainians are able to call for violence against Russian soldiers. And they said, this is a company basically allowing people to attack our citizens. That's what the Russian regulators are saying. And again, I think that it just has kind of snowballed here, the relationship between Meta and Russia and the Russian leaders. And I just don't really know where we go from here.
What does this mean for Meta and Twitter, two companies that obviously their growth depends on new users and new ad revenue?
So Meta said something interesting at the end of last week. Not a lot of people saw it because it was at one of those private banking conferences, but their CFO said that the ad revenue that they get either from Russian businesses or that's targeted at Russian users is 1.5% of their total advertising revenue. So while obviously that's not nothing, it's not insignificant, it's also not a massive business for Meta. And I bring that up because when you look into the future and you say, well, is this the kind of thing where Meta is going to bend over backwards to try and get back into Russia? I don't know if they're going to be willing to do that for such a small portion of their business, right? They don't have the financial incentives necessarily to make concessions in the way that they might in other parts of the world. And so that to me is one of the many reasons why I find this kind of digital iron curtain you were talking about interesting, because I don't know if there's enough people in Russia for these companies to feel like they can compromise on some of the other parts of their policy that they've so far stood firm in support of.
Meantime, Mark Zuckerberg making a surprise appearance at South by Southwest later this week. My guess, obviously, all of these topics are going to be on the agenda, but of course, the metaverse and his vision for the future. What do you make of Zuckerberg, who really hasn't been doing a lot of press, getting out front?
Yeah, I think I heard this was his first time at South by since something like 2010 or something like that. It's certainly been a very long time since he'd appeared at this particular conference and really a conference like this. Now he's doing it with sort of a familiar interviewer, not someone who's necessarily in the news industry who's going to sit there and grill him about all of the stuff that we were just talking about. So I do wonder how substantive the interview will be in terms of news about policy and world happenings. But for him, it's a way to talk about the metaverse, right? To get out in front of a crowd that has always been very interested in the new upcoming technology and to pitch kind of his vision for what he wants Meta to build. So I don't know if we're going to be fulfilled as a hard-hitting news journalist from this interview, but I think for him it's a chance to, again, reach people who care about the future of tech with his vision for the future of tech.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll get some probing questions there and maybe some reaction to what my next guest has to say. Kurt Wagner, who covers Meta and Twitter for us. Thank you. Sticking with Meta and its biggest bet on the future, the metaverse, I spoke with former Nintendo America president and COO Reggie Fils-Aimé at the South by Southwest Festival in Austin over the weekend, and I asked him what he thought about Mark Zuckerberg's vision for the evolution of virtual reality. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I'm not a buyer of that idea. I don't think that their current definition is going to be successful.
Why not?
Why do I say that? I say that because first, and I don't know if anyone from Facebook is here, but you have to admit that Facebook itself is not an innovative company.
Wow.
They're not. I mean, you look at, they have either acquired really interesting things like Oculus, like Instagram, or they've been a fast follower of other people's ideas. That's Facebook. So inherently, they are not an innovative company other than the very original social platform that was created many years ago.
So what do you think Mark Zuckerberg is getting wrong here?
Well, I believe that in order to be innovative, you really need to be thinking about the consumer first, and I don't think they do. I think you need to be looking at...
What do they think about first?
Well, I think they think about advertising revenue first, because that's 98% of their revenue. I mean, that's the fact. But you have to think about your consumer. You have to think about your customer. You need to think about bringing new and different ideas into the marketplace. You need to reward that within your culture. You know, these are the things that drive innovation. You need to have a culture of innovation. Anything that you do within an innovative company, whether you're in accounting, whether you're in product development, whether you're in marketing, you need to be challenging yourself to be doing things differently versus doing the same old, or copying someone else's idea. So, you know, that's why I look at the vision that's been to date articulated, and I'm not a believer. The other thing I would say about Facebook is they don't have a great history with physical products, right? Portal, you know, not a big idea.
Oculus.
They bought Oculus, and you know, they've been working on it for a number of years. The last number I saw was that in total, and not just Oculus, in total, about 20 million VR devices have been sold. 20 million. You know, when I was running Nintendo, that was a good year, 1 year in terms of hardware.
Hoping we're going to hear Mark Zuckerberg respond to that conversation when he speaks at South by Southwest. Now, my convo with Reggie Fils-Aimé later turned to GameStop. Fils-Aimé joined the GameStop board in April 2020, just months before the start of its roller coaster meme stock ride that saw the stock go from just a few dollars a share to over 500. Fils-Aimé left the board after less than a year, saying he was unhappy with the strategy of chairman of the board, Ryan Cohen. Take a listen.
I asked to be part of the team to develop the strategy. I knew the business. I knew it as a consumer. I knew it as a vendor. I had pretty strong opinions on how the business needed to be pivoted. But I was rebuffed, right? The perspective was, Reggie, we want to keep the team small. And so it's going to be, you know, myself and a few of the people that I brought on board who, you know, by the way, don't know this business, don't understand the players, et cetera, et cetera. I took that as code as, you know, thank you, but we really don't want any other ideas. And for me, that was not acceptable.
So what do you think of the strategy now?
Well, there has not been an articulated strategy. I mean, if you could go on the GameStop website, try and find a strategy, there is no articulated strategy. Leadership says, well, we don't want to articulate our strategy because we don't want anyone to steal our strategy. You know, so I come from the business perspective that you need to articulate your strategy to all of your key constituents. You need to communicate to your business partners, your vendors, your employees, your shareholders. You need to communicate your strategy.
Former Nintendo America president and COO Reggie Fils-Aimé there at South by Southwest in Austin. Coming up, Disney CEO Bob Chapek breaking his silence on the controversial Florida school bill. We'll discuss how it's impacting employees across Disney, Pixar, and more, and what it means for Chapek ahead. This is Bloomberg. Just 2 years into his role as Disney CEO, Bob Chapek under scrutiny following his response to a controversial Florida school bill. For more, I want to bring in Bloomberg's Chris Palmieri, who covers Disney for us. So, Chris, set the stage. What is this Florida school bill, and why is it so controversial? What Bob Chapek didn't and now does have to say about it?
Well, the bill, which was passed by both houses in Florida, would prohibit schools from discussing sexual orientation or gender identity in kindergarten through third grade. This was designed for parents to be able to control the discussion of these issues with their younger kids. A lot of people in the gay community obviously don't like it. It's been called "Don't Say Gay." They feel like this is really stifling kids who may be just trying to discover where they're going in life. And so Chapek is trying to more broadly sort of keep Disney out of these political topics. He tried to sort of like work behind the scenes on this issue, but not take a public stance, and said that's what he wanted to do going forward. The rank and file at Disney revolted essentially openly on social media, employees saying they disagree with this policy. A letter from Pixar employees, animators union sent out statements, and so Chapek reversed his position a couple of days later on Wednesday of last week, saying, you know, we are openly opposed to this bill. And then a couple of days later, even took it further and sort of publicly apologized to all his employees.
A lot of employees were not happy, and you also had leadership within Disney, for example, at Pixar, releasing their own statements. You've got Bob Iger, the former CEO of Disney, also speaking out about this. What do you make of the pushback from other executives?
Well, this is part of a sort of a broader issue that Chapek has found, where he doesn't have the same support from the creative community at the company that his predecessor Bob Iger did, and so he's made some decisions that are very unpopular. For example, he's relocating a lot of employees to Florida, that work in theme park design and that from California. They're not happy about being told they have to move, and so we have weird situations now where Florida Governor DeSantis just slammed Disney last week, saying they don't care about human rights in China. And then Governor Gavin Newsom here in California saying, oh, why are you moving your people to California? So as Chapek predicted, in a way, by taking these political stands, he's opening the company up to firing people attacking them from both sides, it turns out.
This, of course, as Disney shares themselves have been struggling. Chris Palmieri, who covers Disney for us, will continue to follow here. Meantime, struggling electric car maker Rivian has hired a new COO from Magna, one of the world's biggest automotive suppliers. Frank Klein will take the role on June 1st. Rivian announced Monday, confirming an earlier Bloomberg scoop. Klein led Magna's car-making unit before that at Mercedes' parent company at Daimler. 25 years. Rivian stock has been crushed in recent days after the company's forecast building just 25,000 EVs this year, about half what its factory in Illinois is capable of due to a shortage of parts and trouble with production. Rivian's former COO, Rod Corpus, resigned end of last year. Coming up, the pandemic far from over. China facing its worst outbreak since the early days as lockdowns are now being put in place to stop the spread. How that'll impact the supply chain coming up. Also, Discovery shareholders approving its merger with CNN parent company Warner Media. Discovery naming Chris Licht incoming president as the network prepares to launch its new streaming service, CNN+. We'll have my conversation with CNN Executive Vice President Andrew Morse from South by Southwest later this hour. This is Bloomberg. Welcome back to Bloomberg Technology. I'm Emily Chang in San Francisco. The Chinese city of Shenzhen, home to 17.5 million people, is locked down as COVID cases have doubled to roughly 3,400. This as China faces its biggest COVID outbreak since Wuhan in early 2020. Foxconn, Apple's biggest supplier, is now halting operations in Shenzhen, and this could have massive global implications. Our Mark Gurman joining us now with more. Mark, give us a status update on what's happening at Foxconn and what the impacts of this more broadly will be.
So as of now, the office, the main headquarters for Foxconn in Shenzhen, as well as their iPhone factory within Shenzhen, those are both closed right now. Now, Foxconn isn't saying when they're going to be reopening. It is indefinite for now, but the order for closures for factories in other places is in effect in that area until March 20th. So it's possible it'll open around then or after then, but we know the fluidity of COVID and how these things can go on for longer. And that's the real fear here, right? As of now, a week of one iPhone factory being shut down is not going to have much of an impact. This is a slow season for Apple, right? They did just release new products, but they really need the factories running at full steam for the fall and late in the summer for the iPhone 14, new iPads in the fall, augmented reality headsets early next year. That's when it would be danger territory. But right now, I think they're going to be okay, given that their main iPhone plant, called iPhone City, is in another region of China, many, many miles away from here. But we don't know what China's going to do and expand it, right?
Exactly. The pandemic China is hitting a new peak in COVID cases. This is not just happening in Shenzhen. What is Apple doing, or what can Apple do to mitigate this, given that there are already global supply chain issues that have now been reverberating for 2 years?
Yeah, it's very much whack-a-mole, right? Foxconn has many factories across China where they produce the iPhone and other Apple products, right? So as limitations go up in some factories, right, they'll have to reallocate that to other factories, and as other factories reopen, they'll have to move production back. So I'm sure that's what they're on the scene in China figuring out right now, right? I think they want to see how bad this becomes. Obviously, we're in a very different place today than we were basically exactly 2 years ago now, with vaccines and masking and people used to these protocols. So my hope, right, not only for Apple and China, but for globally, that this gets resolved pretty quickly, and Foxconn is able to work through it at a faster pace than they were able to 2 years ago. If you remember, however, even at the height of the COVID pandemic, Apple really and Foxconn, they were able to figure it out. In the middle of everything, Apple was still able to ship the iPhone 12 in November of 2020, right? That was a 2-month delay for their flagship product in the middle of COVID, pre-vaccines, right at the height of things, right? So if they were able to figure it out then with only 2-month delays, I'm quite optimistic they'll be able to figure it out with more vaccines and masking regulations and such at a slower period for the company.
All right, Mark Gurman, we'll continue to watch your reporting on this. Thank you. I want to stay on the topic of COVID and the resurgence we're seeing across China and in Hong Kong, and bring in Ali Ehrman. She's a genomics analyst with ARK Invest. Ali, we are seeing the spike in Hong Kong and China as the World Health Organization has been considering declaring an end to the pandemic. Does this signal to you that it could get worse, or maybe a lot worse, before it gets better?
Thanks, Emily, for having me. It's nice to see you again. I think obviously we've had these spikes before. We've seen, multiple mutations arising from COVID-19, and this continues to be an ongoing issue that we're monitoring here at ARK. One of the things that we're thinking about is disruptive technologies that are in our portfolios that could potentially help the crisis. So, one such technology is CRISPR, which is essentially working to look at different cases and potentially being a diagnostic tool, but it's also used as a therapeutic tool as well.
Now, China has had a zero COVID policy, shutting down versus vaccinating on a broad scale. They've been using the Sinovac vaccine when they do vaccinate, but that's a vaccine that doesn't use mRNA technology and appears to be not as effective. Are we seeing that vaccine and that technology breaking down?
It's possible. At ARK, we've been very focused on the mRNA technology. And so we know that we've seen pretty great results from it from the US and also from Israel, where we've gotten a substantial amount of data. And so, this mRNA technology is a novel technology. It hasn't been used prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. We're following very closely what the companies are doing and how they're utilizing that technology, including, Moderna, but also Arcturus Therapeutics, and several other companies that really are focusing, of course, we can talk about Pfizer and the partnerships that they've started there, but also just the amount of sheer data that we're going to get from mRNA and be able to compare that to the adenovirus vaccines as well.
How has the pace of innovation in mRNA and biotechnology accelerated during the pandemic, given the role we've seen it play in vaccinations, along with CRISPR, as you mentioned?
Yeah, so the pace of innovations, Emily, is really interesting because we're seeing that, I think CRISPR is an excellent example, as you mentioned, right? So we're seeing these amazing examples. So prior to CRISPR, zinc finger nucleases, another gene editing form, also TALENs were in existence. And essentially, those took a really long time to move from discovery to the first human dose. So that happened for zinc fingers in roughly 8 years, whereas CRISPR took less than half that time. They were about 3 years. They also can target many more unknown diseases. And so what we're seeing is there's a proliferation in terms of the pace of innovation. An example for that could be CRISPR Therapeutics. They're working on creating potentially functional cures for diseases like sickle cell and beta thalassemia. They've treated about 70 patients along with their partner Vertex, both companies within our genomic strategy. And we're seeing the data looks like it could potentially really be a functional cure. And so the pace of innovation, but also what's happening within innovation is really exciting right now.
Meantime, there's a controversy evolving in the gene editing world, which I know that you are following closely, where Nobel Prize winner Jennifer Doudna, who's made important discoveries in mRNA technology and been recognized for her work on CRISPR, has lost a patent dispute surrounding the discovery of her and her team around a specific part of CRISPR technology. What does this mean, and how significant is this?
That's right, Emily. First of all, I think it's great we're talking about this because it demonstrates a commitment from the scientists across the board. It's also quite a complicated topic. So I think it's great to delve in a little bit here. So first of all, what is CRISPR? Maybe we can back up a little bit on that. So CRISPR is a precise tool that is used for gene editing. We believe in it. We've been investing in it for years. We think it's an incredibly innovative tool, and it's revolutionizing the way we think about treatments, but also potential cures. Just a little bit of background here, it's essentially from a family of DNA sequences, and it was found to affect the genomes of bacteria, and it's now potentially using and in trials to be used for correcting genes in humans. So about the patent dispute, as you mentioned. So really quick background here, you covered some of this, really helpful. In 2012, Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuel Charpentier, they wrote a paper and it detailed the CRISPR system, but they didn't show that it worked in eukaryotic cells. And essentially, Emily, a eukaryotic cell is a cell that has a nuclease. So that could be a plant, and it's also certainly a human. Feng Zhang at Harvard Broad was the first one to do this. So there's essentially two sides, Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuel Charpentier on one side, that houses that IP from CBC, which is the University of Vienna, also UC Berkeley for both of them. Other side, Feng Zhang, Harvard, and the Broad. So in 2020, as you mentioned, Emmanuel Charpentier and Jennifer Doudna actually won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for their discovery of CRISPR-Cas9. But as you mentioned, this past week, we saw that the USPTO, or US Patent and Trademark Office, did not follow suit. So what does this mean? Getting to the point here, this doesn't stop any ongoing trials. So all clinical trials will continue. It doesn't affect IP outside of the US. The most likely outcome that ARC sees is through some form of cross-licensing among the companies. And in terms of sort of the specifics for companies, so Editas, Verve, and Beam get their IP through Editas or the Broad, Harvard, and then CRISPR and Intellia through CBC, so through Emmanuel Charpentier and Jennifer Doudna.
Interesting. A controversy we're going to continue to follow. Jennifer Doudna has been a guest on this show several times. Ali Ehrman, genomics analyst with ARK Invest. Thank you for sharing that background with us. Coming up, Ripple calls it a victory. We're going to have more on Ripple's long legal battle with the SEC over alleged illegal sales of its XRP token. What that means for the broader crypto industry next. This is Bloomberg. Time now for our crypto report of the day, and I want to focus on Ripple after the SEC alleged that the currency exchange platform had engaged in the unlawful offer and sales of securities, its XRP token. Ripple countered, saying they had not had reasonable fair notice from the SEC about whether its sales of XRP were indeed illegal, a defense that the court upheld last week. I want to dig into this with our crypto contributor, Sonali Basak. Sonali, talk to us about how the markets reacted to this news. Obviously a volatile market, and a volatile market for Bitcoin as well.
Yeah, even though we see Ripple down a little bit today, it did really rise after this news. And over the 7-day period, actually, Emily, if you take a look, you do see Ripple rising to the point that it's rising almost twice as much as you see in Bitcoin over that period, and almost 3 times as you're seeing in Ethereum. So yes, very good news in terms of Ripple and its SEC defense, but there are a lot of questions remaining for the market, not just for Ripple, but the crypto industry here at large. And that question is, as Bloomberg Intelligence calls it, a factual one. Will it cause more issuers to register with the SEC? And what type of regulatory overhang does it leave for the market, even after the Biden executive order that created some clarity for the market?
All right, Sonali, stick with us. We're going to get deeper into this conversation with Ripple CEO himself, Brad Garlinghouse. Brad, good to have you back here on the show. You called this a victory in your battle against the SEC. What does it mean for you and also the broader crypto industry?
I do think I'll start there, really. I think it is a victory not just for Ripple, the company, but also the whole crypto industry, because the SEC, I think, has consistently tried to take point and really expand their reach and their control over the crypto industry. We've seen that not just with Ripple, but in other cases. And to have the executive order, as Sonali was talking about, the executive order came out and really said to all agencies, hey, we need to be coordinated. If we want the United States to be competitive in this key technology platform, we need to not have one group behaving one way and another group behaving another way. So we're really pleased by not just the court's decision, but also the executive order that came out last week.
What do you make of the very prominent role that crypto is playing in the war on Ukraine, and also concerns about how cryptocurrency could be used, for example, as a tool to circumvent sanctions by Russians?
You know, Emily, I think this is a bit of a red herring, meaning that there's a lot of attention around it as like, what does this mean? But the practicality of using it to circumvent sanctions, I think, is really difficult. And the reality is that if you just take the basic math, before the invasion of Ukraine, there's about $50 billion a day of Russian ruble cross-border FX trades. There's just not enough liquidity in the crypto market to really put much of a dent in that. Moreover, you know, the point at which sanctions are applied is at the endpoint. So through, you know, exchanges, a Bitstamp or a Binance. And I think you've seen globally that the major exchanges around the world say, hey, we're going to acknowledge, enforce, and respect those sanctions. And so I think that the idea that crypto is being used at any scale to circumvent sanctions is not a really. It doesn't really understand how some of this stuff works.
On one hand, you do have plenty of exchanges that seem to be working with the Biden administration to kind of figure out what's going on under the surface in the market. But on the other hand, when it comes to the SEC, it seems like they've been at the crosshairs of a number of different firms. Do you think the SEC is taking a tougher stance than the administration at large? And do you think that will hinder at all some of the progress that some firms are making?
Look, I think there's no question that the United States Securities and Exchange Commission has reduced the competitiveness of this critical industry in the United States. I think they've been out of step, not just with other parts of the U.S. government, but they've been out of step with other major economies around the world. The only country in the world that considers XRP, the digital asset that Ripple uses in our technology stack, the only country in the world that thinks XRP could be a security is the United States. We work successfully in the UK, in Switzerland, in Japan, in the UAE, in Singapore. All of these countries have acknowledged XRP as a currency because that's how it's used. So I think the way the U.S., if we want the U.S. to be a leader in this new, growing, critical, innovative industry, like the internet 20 years ago, we need that regulatory clarity. And the SEC is really just coming out and saying that we're going to file lawsuits, enforcement. We're not going to provide clear rules so that people know how to operate as other countries have done.
All right, Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple. Brad, always good to have you with us. And our Sonali Basak, thanks. We'll continue to follow your situation with the SEC. Coming up, the path to profitability for CNN+. We're going to hear from the head of the new media venture, Andrew Morse, next. This is Bloomberg. CNN is preparing to launch its most ambitious effort yet, a new streaming service, CNN Plus. Why will consumers buy in when there's a sea of other streaming options? Here's what Andrew Morse, CNN Executive Vice President, who's leading the streaming effort, had to say.
I think at our heart, we have always been about the news. And I think every news organization, in the United States tends to do a bit of a rethink every political cycle. That's natural because politics becomes such an important coverage area for everybody. So I don't think that's unusual for any news organization to think about, okay, what's next? And especially now, by the way, at a time when the entire industry is moving quickly, at a time when the entire industry is being disruptive, I think it's logical.
There's been a lot of controversy surrounding Jeff Zucker's abrupt departure, not long after Chris Cuomo's exit, tied in part to Chris interviewing his brother, the governor of New York, on air. You've seen all the criticism. What's your view on what happened?
It's a good question, Emily. What is my view? Look, when I heard about Jeff's resignation, I was shocked. We were all shocked. It was a very hard day for CNN. Jeff resigned, and in his resignation, Jeff said that he was resigning because he did not disclose a relationship that he had with a colleague, and that was his departure was very hard on the whole organization. And we've all been doing our best to lead through, a pretty difficult period with Jeff's departure.
Some of CNN's own stars have pushed back on the way this was handled. Dana Bash said at an internal meeting reportedly that the punishment didn't fit the crime. Did you think the punishment fit the crime?
I think the rules apply to everybody. And the fact is, the 3 red and white letters of CNN matter a lot, and they're bigger than any of us.
Meantime, shareholders have given Discovery's merger with HBO and CNN parent Warner Media the green light. Discovery CEO David Zaslav naming Chris Licht president of CNN at the South by Southwest Festival. I spoke with Andrew Morse more in depth about the future of CNN Plus, the network's new streaming service and its most ambitious effort since the network's launch. Take a listen.
The beauty of a subscription service is if you create something of value, people will pay. You walk into a supermarket, you walk into a mall, you walk into a shop, you go online. If there's something of value, you'll pay. And when you think about what CNN does, you think about the coverage that we have in the Ukraine, you think about the depth of knowledge that Sanjay Gupta has and the role that he's played in this country in terms of informing people about COVID in the last year. We are so confident that we're building something of such value that people are going to be willing to give up 1 cup of coffee a month to pay for this service.
Just in time for your appearance here today, shareholders approved the merger of Discovery and Warner Media. CNN has a new president. Chris Licht has been named, helped conceive Morning Joe, produce The Colbert Show, revamp CBS. Have you met with Chris Licht? And what has he told you he wants to see from CNN Plus? So
we haven't been able to talk to him yet. And in fact, even though the Discovery shareholders have voted, we're in a quiet period. So we actually haven't been able to formally meet with Discovery about our business plans for a while. But look, I've gotten to know Chris over the years. What I do know of him, he's an incredibly creative producer. He's a great journalist. He's somebody who really knows what an organization like CNN needs to be successful.
What's the budget for CNN Plus? How much have you spent so far?
It is by orders of magnitude larger than anything CNN has taken on really since the network was founded. It's a very serious undertaking, and it requires significant investment. But the reason for the significant investment is it's tied to a very aggressive and ambitious business plan. We feel very, very confident that we're going to be able to grow a very substantial subscriber base pretty quickly. And so we've been able to put together a business plan and an investment case that gets us to a place where we think we can build a very healthy business.
Given all the numbers you've run, the research you've done, When, then, do you expect this bet to pay off?
Well, we think it can become profitable within a few years. Again, it's the beauty of a subscription business, and I come back to that every time. You know, it's what makes it different from cable television. It's what makes it different from advertising. If you build something of value and you deliver value to the customers and you put those customers before anything else, you can build a business, and you have to back it up. You have to have a great product. You have to have great content. You have to have great talent. You can't be afraid to pivot. You can't be afraid to, to continue to take chances. But, we feel good about what we're building.
Andrew Morse, Executive Vice President of CNN, speaking at the South by Southwest Festival in Austin, Texas. CNN Plus launches March 29th. That does it for this edition of Bloomberg Technology. Tomorrow, we're going to be joined by Reshma Saujani, founder of Girls Who Code. She's out with a brand new book on the future of women and work. Also, Joseph Lubin to talk about all things crypto, the CEO of Consensus and the co-founder of Ethereum. That's tomorrow right here on Bloomberg Technology. I'm Emily Chang. This is Bloomberg.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
And we are underway here in Moline, Illinois. The Panthers, the third seed.
She was able to score 16 points in that quarterfinal game. Got 13 points yesterday. Had a little bit more balanced scoring from her.
Redmond leading all scorers this weekend. In fact, the leading scorer in the Valley this season. And she's fouled.
It can slow her down.
It did an amazing behind-the-back dish down low, the Jackson made Sports Center's top.
If she gets shut down or double teamed, she's going to look to try to involve a teammate.
Bowman with the left hand. Here comes Maya Wong for the Redbirds.
Player right here that has the ball in her hands, Mary Crompton. You have to look out for her because she is a three-point threat from anywhere on the floor. She's got great range, and they're going to pay a lot of attention to her.
Wong gets it to slide in, and a good start. Remember, the Redbirds in their first two games this weekend really hammered down the defense against their opponents. Loyola in the first matchup in the quarterfinals only scored 18 in the first half, and the top seed Salukis only 15 in the opening 20. As Buffelli finally breaks the ice for...
Are really good defensively, and I think that's the kind of matchup we're going to see here today. Is defense is going to win this ball game.
Nice play as Wong gets the reverse lay-in. Rager spots up for three. Juju Redmond.
Might have gotten away with a little travel. At least the fans on the other side of the arena thought they did.
On the ESPN app.
Northern Iowa taking that timeout, not liking how this game is starting, and Bree Gunnels has been a
Wolf with the partial block on Wilson. Long outlet, Green in transition.
That was a tough catch, tried to get the feet down to make that layup, but they recovered and still kept the possession.
Gunnels on the drive, and it looks like Dana Wilson picks up.
Their main game is get Redmond the ball, let her create, let her facilitate. Both teams going to their benches early. Sometimes in a championship game, you've got to get players in and out, shake the nerves, get them a little breather, and then get them back into the ball game.
Shooter from out there. We saw her hit a couple yesterday from beyond the arc. Now Rucker with time running down.
How many times as she's gotten more floor experience?
Shots drifting a little bit farther away from the basket in the last couple of possessions for Illinois State. Now Wolf on the inside.
Cleared it out and let her go one-on-one. Huge drop step around Bowman and a soft touch over the rim.
Redbirds have missed their last 5 shots.
I think that shows you that timeouts work sometimes. As Coach Warren called the timeout, not liking the start to the ball game, and they had made a run until
18 of them coming in the fourth quarter. Rucker gets the rebound.
Also in that first game, it was Redmond and Wilson that accounted for 54 of their 67 points. And with that being said, kind of the same way in the second matchup, Redbirds need a third person to step up here in this ball game today.
Rucker definitely stepping up, and with that, finds Wilson getting in and out of the touch inside on Wolf. And Wolf with great defense. And here comes the Northern Iowa Panthers trying to take their first lead of the afternoon. A dish to Gunnels, and she'll head to the free throw line. Oh, quick hands by Finley to get the steal for UNI. Rucker going to set up the half-court set for Northern Iowa as they run a couple of high posts. Trying to dump it down, and somehow it goes off the fingertips of an Illinois State player in the bucket. That's Northern Iowa's first lead of the afternoon somehow, some way, as they have a 12-2 run going right now against Illinois State as they are struggling on offense. Bowman finally gets one in.
Apologize for the technical difficulty that we're having with our microphones right now, and get everything back in play here as the Panthers are up 17-14, and again pounding the ball inside.
The impact in the tournament that they had last season, and I think Amaka's done a great job of retooling her team, because when they lost Jasmine Franklin, that wasn't an easy thing to take in, and I think she's managed it great. And I think they're an excellent basketball team, and they'll make some noise in the tournament.
As you see their resume right now, and you see some of the notable victories, and Laura and I talked about this yesterday on the broadcast, the fact that they have 3 wins against Power 5 schools. In fact, you look at that Missouri now.
I think Amaka's team has come out. They've challenged themselves. They've done the type of things that I think the Women's Basketball Selection Committee wants. And I also want to be careful how difficult the gauntlet is. And Laura, you know this yourself. Getting through the Missouri Valley Conference is not an easy task. This is a great conference for women's basketball. And, you know, in my mind, if Illinois State was, you know, tertiary tournaments that you can participate in, that becomes more of an institutional decision. But just like on the men's side, those are the 2 main things that you're really hopeful that you have a chance to get some participation.
Overall, this season, thoughts on top to bottom on the women's league and how they performed a few months, but 3 really quality teams coming into the league.
You know, I think our student-athlete experience then in 22-23 than it was at the beginning of this year, and I think they've been able to accomplish that, and I'm excited about those. I think it's going to help our championship. I think it's going to make us a deeper league, and I think we're going to be constantly talking about multiple bids.
Jeff, you and I discussed this during the men's tournament last weekend, and I would imagine the same holds true for the women's tournament. We're going to get everybody involved. We're going to have 4 games starting on Thursday, right?
Yeah, you know, about going to 20 games, I think we're pretty much set there. You know, trying to figure out how we play those 20 games. I think on the men, it'd be great competition for our student athletes. They're going to be in great environments, and everything is going to grow and prosper because of these changes.
Well, Jeff, we appreciate your patience. Thanks for swinging by.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Congratulations on another successful tournament, buddy.
Thank you, Laura.
That is the commissioner of the Missouri Valley Conference, Jeff Jackson, join us here in Championship Sunday in the Valley. There's Jude. Redmond starting to heat up, Laura.
She pulled it.
She has scored the last 5 for ISU. Going to make it 7 as Wolf rebound.
And she's not a player. You saw her shoot it right there. She knew it was coming up short. She went right after that rebound. Coming up big and making some big plays at the right time. Bree Gunnels, she has hit shots from that spot on the floor here in the tournament in multiple games.
Just inside the 3-point arc, so it's only a 2. Wide open look for Wong, and she hits the triple.
Okay, I'm sitting to go up with that shot. Well, she knew better. She kicked it out for Maya Wong for the big 3-pointer.
A 3-second differential as Rucker gets her instructions from head coach Tanya Warren, going for the final shot and trying to add to the lead. Rucker trying to get it inside. Back to Carly with 3 on the shot, and she nails it.
Get some help for Juju Redmond.
Absolutely. Deanna Wilson picking up those 2 fouls. And, of course, she had a double-double in the first matchup and also double figures in the second matchup against Northern Iowa. No points and just 3 rebounds in the opening 20 minutes of play as we're underway with the second half of the championship of the Missouri Valley Conference. As the Wilson, aforementioned, gets the first 2 points to get us started here in the third quarter.
You know, she's a player coming into this game. The last 3 games before this had been averaging a double-double, and over those 3 games, averaging 15 points and 12 rebounds a game. They need to get her involved, and that's, I think, was their thinking coming out of the locker room. They need to get her some touches down low, and they ran it to her right away.
Felly also with 2 fouls in that first half, and she gets the side for Northern Iowa.
Deanna Wilson upset with herself that she couldn't slow down Grace Buffelli, but that's a tough matchup. Both of those post players have really great footwork around the block.
Illinois State doing exactly how pulls down the rebound for Illinois State as they trail it 29-26, just underway, third quarter from Cat Slayer Center. on that drive.
That is just great defensive communication, and what a move by Wilson.
Wolf, a little strong on that 3 attempt. As Kinsey Bowers checks in for ISU.
Northern Iowa starting to settle for the three-point shot here. Not hitting at a high percentage, but they continue to look at that. I think they need to try to go back inside and establish that middle. They're spreading the floor.
8-2 run for the Birds. Wolf getting the offensive glass. UNI 1 for 13 beyond the arc. Finley will try it again, and she drops it down. As always, you can watch everything streaming live on the ESPN app. Will they be talking about the Redbirds or the Panthers from the Missouri Valley Conference on tonight's selection show? Maya Wong has tied it at 32.
It's just a frustration foul, and she knew it after she did it.
UNI just shooting 20% from the field in this third quarter of play.
A lot of standing right now.
Green hits the 3. Just her brother, who is the MVP on the men's side of the Missouri Valley Conference, A.J. Green, also of Northern Iowa.
And I guess it's okay to stand around like that if somebody's going to step up and knock down a big 3. Yeah, you have to believe that Emerson and A.J. probably out in the backyard playing a little horse. She has the ball in her hands a lot as a point guard, so she is going to get to the free throw line a fair amount.
Folks, here's our NBA Sunday night matchup on ESPN and the app. LeBron and the Lakers are in Phoenix to take on Devin Booker and the Western Conference leading Suns. Green on the drive this time. Redmond keeps it alive, and she'll push it up. Wong on the drive.
Settle in, and I think it was probably a good move for her.
Wilson with the left hand. Newland tries to keep it alive, and Emerson Green tracks it down. Rucker checking back in after the timeout. Northern Iowa 2 for their last 11.
Five out, nobody in the middle.
Carly all league in the MVC, also on the again this season, 3 times for Carly, as I mentioned, the super senior, 7th all-time in points scored and 4th all-time in assists. Championship Sunday.
It has been a long time coming, and there you see last time Illinois State 2008 Northern Iowa has been in this championship game, but 2011 was the last time that they were able to claim the title. They've been here, haven't been able to close out the deal, and these two teams have worked very hard out of that 3 seed and out of the 4 seed to get here to try to go dancing.
Rucker. And just like the second quarter, or just before it, Northern Iowa off to a good start. You think about it, the first start of the game and the start of the second half, Illinois State had the better of it. There's Juju Redmond once again. But then in that second quarter and beyond, it was all Northern Iowa for the most part. But Northern Iowa really not shooting that well in that third quarter play.
No, they really didn't. Only 25% in the third quarter. And just, I'm not sure if the shot selection was right for them. I know they are trying to go inside now, and that's kind of where they're...
Redmond with a beautiful spin move. Wolf is there. Green hits another three. And Wilson out on the floor with 3 for Illinois State. Redmond on Rucker.
Rucker tried to shuffle the feet, got to the baseline, and Redmond is so good as she turns those shoulders and slides by on the baseline.
Rucker with the answer.
About these two super seniors just answering one another. One shows off on one end, here's what I can do. And the other goes down to the other end and goes, yeah, here's what I can do.
Long sets up for the mid-range jumper, and she has had a terrific afternoon.
And she was able to get herself open and knock down a big shot.
Wolf spots up for another 3 attempt. Green gets the offensive rebound. And Finley.
About Green coming in and providing a huge spark for the Panthers.
Compton sets up for a 3, and that's her first of the day. TaxSlayer Center, Moline, Illinois. It's the championship game in the Missouri Valley Conference Women's Tournament. Illinois State, Northern Iowa trying to get that automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. Out of the timeout, Redmond short on the attempt, but a foul is called. Juju Redmond.
She went by, and then Buffelli stayed right there, and she stripped her as she kept the ball down around her knees. She is so quick defensive, and she's everywhere. She is everywhere. She's not just on one player, does not stand around very often on the defensive side of things.
Redmond going one-on-one with Green. And the foul. With an opportunity to redeem herself. Right now, Northern Iowa.
That will certainly come into play down the stretch.
Redmond driving on Gunnels, and there's another block by Bree. Redmond sticks to it, and we have our 6th lead change.
Got time to play defense. About a 7-second difference between game clock and shot clock.
Redmond with 8 on the shot clock, clearing it out against Emerson Green. Cut off, finds Wilson. Wilson inside, and a foul is called with 8 seconds left.
To get the foul, and Wilson stepping to the line. Rucker going to be the trigger on this inbound play.
Remember, Illinois State has fouls to give as well. Finley's got it. And that'll do it. The Illinois State Redbirds are going to...
Audio Jungle.
Excited for a road trip? Start it off right with auto coverage from American Family Insurance. J.D. Power ranked us #1 in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance shopping experience among mid-size insurers. Get a quote at amfam.com.
American Family Insurance.
For J.D. Power 2021 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI and its operating companies, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
You're listening to the Hey Sis podcast. This is a space for millennial women to breathe and then go out into the world and lead. Now, here's your host, Dr. D. Evans.
Hey everybody, thank you for listening to the Hey Sis podcast. I am your host, Dr. D. Evans. Today's episode, we will be discussing imposter syndrome. I want to quickly go over what imposter syndrome is. I think it's important because statistics show that 25 to 30% of high achievers suffer from imposter syndrome. That's enough to convince me. People who struggle with imposter syndrome believe that they are undeserving of their achievements and they are undeserving of the honor that has been placed upon them. People that struggle with imposter syndrome, they feel as if they are not as competent or as intelligent as others might think. People with imposter syndrome are often well accomplished. They may even hold numerous degrees, and they may hold a high office position. This lets me know that no matter how much evidence that proves we are anointed, that we're successful, that we're worthy of the promotion, that we're capable of leading worship effectively, that we're great writers, that we're trustworthy, that our resume is enough, we are still inclined to this demonically induced belief that we are not as capable or not as smart as others think that we are. And in essence, this is imposter syndrome, and we've got to overcome it. There is quite a bit of validity to the imposter syndrome, and that annoys me. It annoys me because it affects so many people, especially millennial women that are breaking generational curses left and right. I'm talking to women who have broken the curse of rejection in their family. I'm talking to women that have broken the curse of poverty over their family. I'm talking to women who came out of bad relationships and that have come out of toxic friendships, and you're free. You've broken through barriers that the enemy did not want you to come out of. You're entrepreneurs, you're mothers, your wives, your amazing sisters, you're professional. Some of y'all ratchet and you want to be. Okay, do you, boo? Some of you are degreed. Edges, okay? Straight teeth. Come on now. I saw somebody the other day with a piercing in their neck. I said, good God Almighty. What's that called when you have, well, you know, with the smokers commercial, when they be talking out their neck? Who knew that was a cosmetic thing? I said, ooh. Anyway, you have to know that you belong here. In this dispensation in time, you're not here on accident. You're here because God made you be here. You're not an accident. Your goals are not an accident. Your life isn't an accident. You were groomed for this. The Lord has been holding me accountable to negative self-talk. He's held me accountable with using restraint with my words concerning myself, as well as dismantling remarks laced as, oh, homegirl, let me put you on, or that are laced as wisdom. Let me tell you something. I'll cut you up real quick in this season, because what I'm not going to allow is for people to try to convince me subliminally that I should not be here. And for those of you that have strong personalities, there's a purpose for that. Everybody cannot be passive. Some people have to be strong. There's a balance between the two. I believe in duality, right? Everybody's personality isn't going to be the same, but that doesn't mean anything's wrong with them. I don't know who I'm talking to, but I can talk for me. I have always been the woman that people targeted as it relates to what is success and what it means to arrive. People love coming up to me telling me what's wrong with me. They love telling me I'm too hard, or I need to be softer. You need to do more of this. You need to do more of that. And I get it, because I get it, meaning I think that they think that's what I do for a living. And I'm speaking I'm speaking to prophets. If you're a prophet, that's how people perceive you. You just tell people what to do all the time. They have no idea about the call, the burden, none of it. I don't want to be no prophet. Let me be very clear with you. I ain't asked for this. I'll give it back, okay? If I can refund it, y'all can have the money, okay, and exchange it for something else, okay? And exchange it someday for a crime and you're going to die. Ain't that one of them songs? Ooh, Lord, I can't use that example. But I exchange it for something. Red bottoms, I don't know. I'll exchange it for something normal, something nice, right? When you walk in leadership positions, people often take their insecurities out on you. And I know I'm flowing in here. The same people that tell me I'm too hard are the same people that the Lord is telling to grow up. The same people that are offended by how I stand for ethics are the same people that God is holding accountable to or holding them accountable in their business acumen, in their discipline. When you walk in leadership, I'm talking to, if you're a lawyer, if you're a doctor, if you're an apostle, prophet, evangelist, teacher, pastor, bishop, wannabe, elder, whatever, people will take their mess out on you. And what happens is when you don't put a stop to it, you start to believe the murmurs. You start to believe their insecurities. You start to rehearse it in your mind. Then it becomes your insecurities. And then the Lord's like, wait. None of that is true. I never told you was too hard. I never told you need to be softer. I never told you that I didn't love you the way that you are. Why are you letting outside opinions determine your trajectory? Why are you concerning yourself? The way I made you is enough. The Lord has been walking me through that process of being able to stand up to anybody. What they say in the streets, anybody can get it. And I mean that. There's no exceptions. And anybody I mentor, I tell them the same thing. You have got to stop allowing word curses to be placed over you. I am not your emotional punching bag. Here's the kicker. If you don't like who I am, then don't associate with me. It's fine. What you don't get to do is make passive remarks. You don't get to talk to Aunt Bertha about me and still smile in my face. You don't get to post subliminals about me and still tell me how proud you are of me. No, baby. In this place, I'm speaking prophetically to some of you, and I'm just talking to the rest of y'all because y'all probably going to go through another phase in your life. You have to be okay with being you. If no one else likes it, you have to be okay with it. It's been a long time since I have been able to say freely, if you do not like me, then please walk away from me. Do you know that people will threaten you with disconnection? It's so funny to me. If you don't stop, I'll disconnect. Well, disconnect then. You act like my existence is based on the fact if you like me or not, if you accept me or not. That's a lie from the pit of hell. At the end of the day, belonging is important. You'll read that in my next book. But you knowing who you are and whose you are is how you defeat imposter syndrome. I'm talking to the women in here who have missed out on hundreds of thousands of dollars because you were too afraid to step out. You felt like you weren't deserving of it. I already talked about earlier in this episode about the generational curse breakers. Some of y'all are the first in your family to own a home. You're the first in your family to even know how to spell luxury. You're the first in your family to go to school, to graduate, to have one husband, to have a child in wedlock, to own a business, to own a corporation, to write a book, to stop smoking. You're the first person in your family to not drink. Whatever the thing is, baby, you are history. I congratulate you. You're deserving of that honor. You do not have to be less than for anyone. And if anyone needs to make you less than, if they need to intimidate you with their insecurities to bring you down to their level, disconnect. I know I'm talking to someone, at least 200 people that are listening. Stand up for your right to be present. Yes, it starts in the battlefield of your mind, but it's also teaching the people around you that you deserve to be here, that you deserve to be present. Of course, I have a story. I'm not even going to do that particular story. I'm going to talk around it. What I will say is, I used to feel bad for being organized. People that are undisciplined and unorganized will try to attack you when you operate in discipline and organization. Now, remember, every attack is not flesh and blood. Most of the time, it's them devils. And disorganization, to the extent that it can make you late. What else comes with disorganization? It could be rejection. It could be delay. It could be hindrance. It could be a spirit of torment. It could most definitely be a spirit of pride attached as well. When you stand up to them spirits, they will attack you for everything you got. Because them spirits don't want you to reveal who they are. Because everybody don't know they got devils. Everybody doesn't know they're dealing with these things. They think it's a part of their personality. But the Lord has called you. I'm talking to you. The Lord has called you to always be on time, to honor your commitments. The Lord has called you to be the one that's dependable in the office. The Lord has called you to be the one that always starts service off with prayer. The Lord has called you to be the mom that takes care of everybody's kids at the PTA meetings, right? It's you. The reason you're in that position is because God is allowing you to be a light that shines before men and women, that they may see your good works and glorify the Father which is in heaven. If you are less than, then there's less than a light. He wants you to fully shine, not be dim. He wants you to be fully you, because that light is going to irritate the darkness and other people. It's supposed to offend. Can I free you for a second? You're prophets, apostles, forget that. Christians, you're supposed to offend the darkness. Don't be afraid of that. Don't allow these accusatory spirits to make you think that God brought you out of the hell that you've been through for you to be less than what he said you are. That means you stop cussing folk out because you know who you are. I'm too refined for that. You stop fighting people. I'm not saying you above it, and neither am I. I'm just saying I'm too refined for that now because I know who I am. I don't have to convince you. I know, and that's enough. And if you don't know, if you mistreat me for what I know, meaning if I am the leader of this company and you keep talking to me like I'm beneath you and it's affecting my work, it's affecting my mental health, and then other people start copying your disrespectful tone, it's time for me to go or it's time for you to go, because I realize my time is worth more. My mental health is worth more. I said a statement earlier in this podcast episode, and I'm going to repeat it. Your identity in Christ is one of the biggest weapons that you can use against imposter syndrome. What God says about you matters. What the enemy says about you is a scare tactic. Don't get it confused. If the enemy says you think you better, no, I do not think I'm better. You do. You think you're better than us. I've heard that quite a few times come out of a mouth of a person that was talking to someone in my vicinity. I've had it said it to me, and I just think it's hilarious that people actually say those things. But I've also heard that phrase come out of someone's mouth that I love towards me, and I had no idea where it came from because it was so left field. But then when we talked it out, it had nothing to do with who I was. It had everything to do with what she lacked. and she deflected that upon me. Let me free you one more time. Some of the nasty stuff that people say to you, the outlandish stuff, has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. What they are going through is not your responsibility. You are only responsible for you. Now, we can get into the spirit of rejection. We can talk about torment because people love taking on other people's sins and then they're not really delivered from their own. I think that's hilarious. I want everybody to be free. I want this. I want that. But baby, are you free? Because it sounds to me like you're putting your freedom on hold because you really don't want to deal with that part. You really don't want to be delivered from that. You think you're fine. You think you're better than being delivered because you like the way that you are. So in order to stay that way, you're going to focus your attention on freeing other people because that's a deflection. There is no deflection in kingdom. The Lord's going to deal with you one way or another. And sometimes you have to be offended. And let me say this. Those of you who have walked in imposter syndrome and you've come over to the marvelous light of, I'm going to be who I am. You've got to be okay with people not apologizing to you, but get in the habit of calling people out in love. No, you will not respond to me that way. No, that was inaccurate what you said. Don't refer to me as that anymore. Why? That's not what God says about me. I get good with people to say, your opinion doesn't matter. Because it doesn't. I strip that of you in the name of Jesus. That word curse, that thing, that vain imagination that has formed, save that for your secret groups and secret meetings. But as for me and my house, we only abide by what the Lord says. If I'm wrong, I will admit it. I will ask for forgiveness. I will apologize. I will do that. But I do not follow the voice of the accuser. Your identity as a son or as a daughter is one of the greatest weapons you can ever wield in the time of existential crisis. In the moments where you forget who you are, just say it. I'm a daughter of Christ. My hope is in him. I am trusted by God. I am loved by God. I'm fashioned by God. I'm not here on mistake. Millions didn't make it, but I'm one of the ones that did, and that's because of God. I am loved. I am seen by God. These statements of truth, we're not conjuring nothing. It's not a spell. It's a declaration so that you remember. You come out of that place of, oh God, I don't deserve it. Oh God, but look at this. And oh God, but look at that. I'm not worthy. No, God. You died on the cross. You bled so that I could be worthy of this. It's only because of your grace and your mercy, but God, I'm supposed to be here. I'm not going to let the enemy intimidate me through people, through places, through things. I'm going to operate at 125%. Because it's not about me, God. It's about your glory. When you receive Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you are a new creature. The old things, your old life, is completely erased. You are made new. You are blood washed. You are set free. You are redeemed. But the enemy has a habit of doing two things. He has a habit of reminding you of your past sins. And he also has a habit of manipulating you into thinking you are someone that you are not.
And we're back. Well, tax season's here, folks, and you know.
Hi there.
Whoa, where'd you come from?
April here to tell you about the tax filing software from TaxAct.
Seriously, were you hiding behind my desk?
Seriously, TaxAct makes it easy to get your maximum refund.
Well, you heard it here first, folks.
Switch to TaxAct today and you can start for free.
Or as we say in Radioland,
subtle. TaxAct. File for less and get more.
See taxact.com for details.
The enemy wants you to forget who you are in Christ so that he can tell you who he wants you to be. The enemy wants you to put on not the full armor of Christ, but the full armor of those word curses that grandmama said over you, that your boss said over you, that your father said over you, that your aunt said over you. That's the whole point. But you can uproot that in the name of Jesus And then you can walk out your identity by overcoming those word curses, by combating that negative self-talk, and being the light that God has predestined for you to be. Now, I'm going to go through a list of places that I've seen people operate in imposter syndrome. And one of those places is work. People with imposter syndrome love this false humility. Oh my gosh. Listen, God gave you every skill and ability that you possess. It is not a curse that you are multifaceted and talented. It is a blessing. Don't allow people to make you put down gifts that you have because they don't have it. I have done that. I'm talking good. Yep, that was my computer. Go ahead and be mad. I have literally put down who I was because people told me I had too many gifts. And I don't think it's a coincidence that women come to me that are multifaceted, and I begin talking to them and I realize they're multifaceted. They have so many gifts, so many talents, so many anointings, but it was a remark that was made to them that made them stop playing piano. It was something that auntie said that stopped making them braid hair, or it took the inspiration away for them to braid hair. It was something their pastor said that made them cease from wearing red lipstick. Listen, you've got to realize how powerful words are. I'm going to say this one more time for the people in the back. God gave you every skill and ability that you possess. You have to honor those skills. And the way you honor them is asking your job for every penny you deserve, making your clients pay for every penny you deserve. Ain't nothing wrong with free, but baby, free is not always the answer. Sometimes people have to pay to sit at the table that God set. It is what it is. People with an imposter syndrome, they love to attribute their success to luck. Oh, I just hopped up and figured out how to create this $30,000 invention. No, the Lord gave it to you because you're creative. Because you are excellent in math. Because you are an amazing writer. God made you that way. If your best friend is not a great writer, that should not make you stop writing. You don't owe nobody anything because you're a great writer. Be you. All right, another facet of a way that I've seen people, I guess, manifest imposter syndrome is among insecure men. Ooh. So many women with this imposter mindset give their pearls to men who can't find their way out of a paper box. Ladies, if you haven't noticed, this is our time. This is definitely our time. Women in leadership is not just a fad. I think it's an era. It's time for you to be okay with the fact that you are a leader. You and your husband can be leaders. You can submit to him and still be a leader. It doesn't mean you have to be less than yourself because you're in a relationship. You don't have to be less than yourself because you have a male boss over you. That's crazy. The Lord will never ask you to dishonor yourself or allow emotional or verbal or spiritual abuse because you're a woman and you're quote unquote less than. The Lord will humble you, but don't ever mistake humility for abuse. Stop allowing insecure men to steal your ideas, to steal your time, to steal your purity, to steal your money. Baby, you are smart. You was smart. You was intelligent. How'd that go from the help? You know what I'm saying. You was smart. You was kind. You was intelligent. Listen, you can walk circles around them. You know can't nobody else do a budget like you. Can't nobody do a flyer like you. You know you're the best nurse on the floor. You know you're the top CNA. You know you're the top rep at your company. Stop giving away your pearls to people because you are not secure with those pearls that God wants you to string around your neck and wear proudly. It's okay to be gifted. It's okay to be the cream of the crop. Use wisdom. Use your discernment. But do not think that you don't deserve honor and promotion and platforms and husbands and whatever else because you have a vagina. Okay? The Lord will break protocol for you. Let me say that one more time. The Lord will break protocol for you. I'll say it 3 times for the Holy Ghost. The Lord will break protocol for you. And when he breaks protocol, you better be ready to walk through every door that he opens with your head held high. We don't want to hear no Grammy speech. I just want to thank my mom. I want to thank this. I want to thank that. I just want to thank God for endowing me with power. I thank you, Lord, for giving me a grace to complete my assignment and move on. Do you hear what I'm saying? Be secure in who you are. You are not responsible for making a man secure. You are not responsible for making a woman secure. That ain't your business. If she's 59 years old and insecure and bitter, let me tell you something. You can't help them. It's trust me. Just stop. Oh Lord, I don't know what it's gonna take. It's not gonna take you getting angry. I'll say it like this: if you come across insecure, bitter women and insecure, bitter men, and they've been bitter for a long time, I promise you, you being less than who you are won't solve the issue. It will just put you in a bind. They're gonna stay insecure, but you're the one that God has anointed. It's imperative that you be you. Another place where I've seen imposter syndrome manifest is at home. Like with new moms and new wives. They act like they just, from what I've read, parents are almost always clueless. I'm a single mom with no kids, and I'm clueless now, so I know I'm going to be a mess. I don't think I have to know everything, which is why I stick to God like glue. I know I'm completely inadequate. Outside of the power of the Holy Ghost. By the power of the Holy Spirit, let me be refined, honey. By the power of the Holy Spirit, hallelujah, I've been refined for his glory. I'll be able to run a household for his glory with his help. I'm going to be able to love my spouse for his glory and with his help. You cannot allow fear to influence you into making illogical decisions. Come off of Instagram. Come off of FaceTime. Come off of TikTok. Stop posting them stories and get into your word. If you that insecure about being who you are, then you need to go back to the one who made you. You have to be led by the leadership of the Holy Spirit. And if you're unsure about his leadership, you need to read about it. One thing I can't stand is ignorance from a Christian. And they come up with stuff. They say stupid stuff, just stupid about the Lord. It's almost blasphemy. These things that people think about God is derived from how they think about themselves. Well, God surely couldn't want this. Where did you read that at? You just made that up to make yourself feel better. That irritates me. And it should irritate them. It's like somebody talking trash about your mama. There's an integrity that has to be upheld concerning the Lord. It's why we have the Bible. It's why we have scholars, biblical scholars and theologians that help us properly articulate sentiments about the nature of God. Sometimes you're just dead wrong about what you thought about the Father. But the only way you're going to find that out is if you're in the Word. Some of you are dead wrong about what it looks like to be a wife, to be a mom, to be single. Find your place in Christ and start in the Word of the Lord. There's so many books out here, self-help books. You can find a book for everything. Matter of fact, if you can't read, you can have a book. Ain't that something? I don't want to hear nothing. I don't want to hear nothing. I can't read. I'm illiterate. Have you ever heard of Audible? Stop playing with me. Somebody can read a book to you. Where's the excuse at? Come out of there. Okay, my last little point, child. I'm getting toe up over here. The last place where I've seen imposter syndrome manifest is in romantic relationships. You can feel so unworthy of love and affection that you ruin a relationship. Help me, somebody. Y'all gonna sow a seed on this here. You know what? I'm gonna do a podcast episode on seed sowing. Somebody remind me of that. Anyway, because I need to talk about what that is. Nevertheless, you can feel so unworthy of love and affection that you completely ruin a relationship. Don't sabotage yourself into a self-inflicted singleness. Listen, some of y'all are in love with being in a relationship in your mind, but then you get in a relationship and you become a terror. I'm like, Lord, have mercy. You become the Felicia in the phrase, bye, Felicia. If you desire marriage and God has spoken that over you, listen, prepare now. You're worthy of it. And I get it. It's not a joke. A lot of people have been through some stuff. A lot of you all, plenty of you have been through some emotional trauma. And to be honest with you, I know some of you have not really sought help for it, but you need to get help because you don't want to sabotage this relationship that you've been praying for because you're embarrassed to admit the fact that you have flaws. Some of the pride that some of you haven't been some of the pride that I see that's erupting out of so many people is bred from rejection, bred from it. And again, imposter syndrome, I'm very clear about who I am. I'm making it my mission to not be less than. I want you to join me on this mission. But trust me, once you become secure in who you are, there's going to be a wind of people, friends, family members that try to tell you who you are not. And you're going to have to remember what God said about you. Why? What God says about you is going to be the thing that man sees in you. Come on in here. And you want to be ready, not just to be his bride, but to be the bride of Christ. If you haven't read any books about what it means to be the bride, oh Lord, there's a song that says, come for your beloved ones. It's called New Jerusalem by Matt Gilman. I used to just fall in the floor. And it was talking about Jesus coming back for his church without a spot or a wrinkle. And it's the moment where you realize, Lord, you're perfecting me. You're glorifying me, right? And some of you are walking through that process even now. God is refining you. He's teaching you who you are. And it's because he needs you to be whole, because he's adding someone to you. And you two are going to become one. But if you're fractured and you're not whole, you're 1/5 of a person. 3/5 is if you're black, that's a joke. You're going to have a whole time being one with another person. So please step out of imposter syndrome and walk into being fully fully D. I'm going to be fully D. But be fully whoever you are, because that's who God is looking for. People need you to show up as you. Forget them though. You need to show up as you. You need to show up as you. Now, if you're struggling, begin to pray against false humility. Begin to pray against rejection. Pray that the Lord would begin to show you who you are to him. Begin to praise and honor the Lord. Begin to ask God for a greater measure of discernment. Many of you may need to ask God to reveal secret sins in your life. Because I've come across a lot of imposters lately who have a stronghold of pride attached to them. A stronghold of rejection attached to them. And I can tell they do because of how they treat other people. Imposters wreak havoc on other people's lives, but I have to do that in another episode. But I need you to forgive whoever you need to forgive. I need you to let go of whoever you need to let go of and embrace you. I know you want to be loved. I know you want attention, and you deserve all of that. You do deserve to be attended to by people that love you. You do deserve to be loved. But you also deserve to love yourself and to walk in your truth. And that truth is rooted in Jesus Christ. You do not have to be an imposter. You can just be you, and that is enough. My prayer is for you to have the confidence to be authentically you, because you are supposed to be here. You are supposed to shine. That's why you're radiant. Stop doubting yourself. Arise and shine. All right? I wrote a blog article on this exact topic, talking about imposter syndrome. You can find that at thedevans.com. All right. If you are looking for some one-on-one coaching, you go to thedevansgroup.com. Over there is all things inner healing and deliverance. If you're looking for business consultation, maybe you're refreshing your brand. Maybe you need to start a brand because you're coming out of being an imposter. That website is Koinonia Training and Consulting. That's KOINONIA Training and Consulting.com. All right. My email is contact@thedevans. Send me your testimonials if you would, please. I got so many listeners. I got like thousands of y'all now. Place some reviews up. What is it? Write some reviews on Apple for me. Write some reviews on Spotify for me. iHeartRadio, please, 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 please. Okay. Thank you for listening. And until we meet next time. All right. Bye, sis.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Hey Sis podcast. Check out www.thedevans.com for more blogs and motivation.
Okay, I only have 15 seconds to tell you about Tavium Plus Vapor Grip Technology, the powerful dicamba premix herbicide from Syngenta. It controls tough weeds in soybeans and cotton, like palmer amaranth, water hemp, and grass weeds. Actually, we're going to go longer, because Tavium lasts longer. So you get all the power of dicamba plus up to 3 weeks longer residual control than dicamba alone. Whew. Now, time's officially up for tough weeds. Talk to your local Syngenta retailer to learn more. Always read and follow label instructions. Tavium Plus Vapor Grip Technology is a restricted use pesticide.
This sode would not be possible without the support of our listeners, patrons, and sponsors. If you'd like to find out more about supporting the 3-Bit Gamer Show, head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/3BG. And a major shout out goes out to our boss level patrons, Christopher, Patrick, and Skylar. Look, JD, I know you think it'll be funny, but I know our listeners don't want to hear us argue about The Bachelor during the intro.
Let's just do it. Let's just do it and be epic.
Okay, fine. Because you are wrong about Clayton. And furthermore, the emotional manipulation exhibited...
Now, I listened to you for 13 minutes without interruption. You're going to listen to me. Clayton may have been out of line, sure. During hometowns, she should have. She knew fantasy suites were. You just logged into the 3-Bit Gamer Show. Welcome to the 3-Bit Gamer Show. I'm JD.
This is Peterson.
And no, Clayton was not gaslighting her. That's bullshit. That's Shanae level bullshit.
Oh, gosh. How dare you compare him to Shanae? They're both bad.
How dare you invoke her name? Live from the 3-Bit Gamer Show. The news. All right, our news this week, as with all weeks, is brought to us by Crave Cookies. Crave Cookies is this awesome cookie empire, of which we get to be proud supporters and evangelists.
Absolutely.
And guys, go on to cravecookies.com because Crave officially has multiple locations. Will you play that like, I guess, is it a horn that plays?
No, yours was good enough. Ours was
a good one. Yours was pretty good. There are multiple locations now for Crave Cookies. You go to cravecookies.com/locations, and the West Valley one is open. It's open now. And
it's open.
Fun fact, Trent likes that location more than his flagship location. So,
well, he probably likes the building because his
probably has a parking
building
lot
is a little rough.
You can drive into,
yeah.
Unlike Crave, the current location, guys. But that doesn't matter because what really matters is another JD creation.
Is this one from you?
Is on the menu. Mangoes and sticky rice. This is
the one I'm so excited for. It's so weird and I love it.
This is the one, dude. This was not this was JD's brainchild, but Trent was the one that delivered and birthed this child. This is the mango sticky rice cookie. It's a coconut infused dough with sweetened dried mangoes, marshmallow, and Rice Krispies with a coconut mango glaze.
I want this one so bad.
You don't even have to go to get Thai food. Although you should. I mean, as a bonus, you should get Thai food with a 4-pack of these.
Oh my god! If you've never had mango sticky rice, like, do yourself a favor and find a place that serves a good one and get it.
It's a Thai thing, so look for a Thai restaurant, and I'd say 50% of them have it. Would you say that's an accurate?
Yeah, I'd say about half. And then this cookie, though, look. I get excited about some of Trent's cookies, but this one I am so excited for because A, I love fruit cookies, and B, this is so different than anything I've seen before. So
it's out there. It's so cool. It's out there. So I'm stoked to check it out. Go to cravecookies.com if you want to salivate over it. Or there are the circles, the influence, the Crave influence has grown further and will grow. By the end of this episode, there may be another location open. Who knows?
Nice.
Ukraine has asked the video game industry to join the fight.
Come on in, boys.
Come on in. All right. So to be fair, this is a lot of this news is going to be old because we were playing catch up. If you guys remember last week, we did midweek madness, so we had like 2 or 3 days of news. Now we have like 10 days of news or more. So this was 11 days ago. The war in Ukraine is still going on. Kiev standing. Awesome. Way to go. They don't give a shit. They don't give
Doing
a fuck
great.
about Russians.
Doing great, guys.
Yeah, kicking ass. But there is a lot of there in that 11 days since this call was made. There has been a lot of response. This was coming from the Ukrainian government. There was this was coming from the Ukraine's vice prime minister of digital transformation. So it's like, this is his wheelhouse. I'm sure all the different ministers of different industries are calling upon all these industries across the globe. And this is particular, the call that the video game industry received, like I said, 11 days ago. And there's almost too much to document. Tons of game companies have pulled their games from digital storefronts in Russia and Belarus. Tons of studios have shuttered their offices in these countries. There's just been a lot of things that have been closed off to Russian marketplaces, and the Russian economy has been just kind of shut out. If you want to play games there, I know CD Projekt Red was shutting offices because they're in Poland, so they're very sensitive to Russians invading countries that they don't belong in.
So a couple things, like, of course, this is sad for just innocent Russian civilians who just want to play some games. And this isn't to like, we're going to punish the civilians. This is not why he wants to do this. This is, I'd say, a push to get the civilians in Russia to stand up, who are, there is a large portion of them that are against this war. So, it's kind of a heavy-handed way to like try to force this stuff, but less
heavy-handed than bombs.
Less heavy-handed than
a lot lighter than bombs and bullets.
A full-on invasion,
which would be by definition a tad heavy-handed.
Yeah. But also, I don't know if you've seen this in the recent couple days since this happened.
Yeah.
Putin has come back, and they have now.
We're going to release our own FIFA. Russian FIFA. It'll be even worse.
RIFA, Russian Football
Only
Association.
like Russian rec leagues teams. No team over 60.
St. Petersburg just smokes everybody because they're the only good team. And no, it's Russia has now approved, made it no longer illegal to pirate software because of this. As a response, they're saying, okay, fine, then you can. Pirating software is no longer against the law.
I'm sorry, was it ever illegal in Russia? Did any
loosely.
Russian ever give a fuck about pirating anything ever?
Loosely, it was a.
If it was
now and then
stepping on like a mob business, maybe your piracy would be unacceptable. But
every now and then, a well-intentioned Russian citizen would be like, you know what? I'm just gonna buy this game instead of downloading it off of
straight to the gulag. Gulagged.
You
wanted to watch The Office season 3? Gulagged. Get
Believe
it
or
on
not,
Peacock.
Gulag.
Believe it or not, Gulag. Signing up for Peacock? Gulag. John Romero just released a brand new level for 1994's Doom 2, and all the proceeds will be going to support Ukraine. That's tight on a couple levels.
I just love this because it is, first of all, it's just releasing a couple new levels, and I personally know people who would be like, all right, I'm in. Like, I don't even care. I just want to play new Doom levels.
There are people who have played the same Doom 2 levels over the course of the last, 25 plus years. They played those levels hundreds of times, countless times, and would definitely appreciate and recognize. And it feels like, more than anything, it feels like a legitimate, real level when it's the original creator busting these out. So kind of a kudos to John Romero. Dope way to help. And I think there's a lot of people that sit around in these instances and feel helpless, like, what can I do? This is awesome. This guy did something. He's like, hey, I know what I can do. Make more video games.
There is something I can do.
That's all I do is make this. So I'm going to keep doing what I do, and I'll just give that to Ukraine.
Selling it for €5, whatever that is these days.
Whatever that is in freedom digits. I don't know. We may never know. In an effort to keep up with the competition, the Steam Deck also has joystick drift.
Let's try this again. I'm gonna replay the sound. I'm gonna do it again.
In an effort to keep up with the competition, the Steam Deck also has joystick drift now. Say also has joystick.
Also has joystick.
Why couldn't I fucking say that? It's not even
in an
a tongue
effort
twister.
to keep up with the competition, the Steam Deck also has joystick. You're right. Joystick.
It also has joystick drift. Also has joystick drift. Say also has joystick drift right now out loud. Everyone do it.
I don't care.
Why is this so hard? I should screen these. I write these. I don't read them out loud before. And I'm doing this live. Now I know I shouldn't do that. Peter picked a pickle. So this was a funny. The joke was in the headline that's now been lost. But fuck. The whole thing is now the Steam Deck is just like the Switch. How is this a thing? How is joystick drift a thing?
I don't know. Why is joystick now
It's in
you've
your
got
head
in
now.
my head now. Why is
now
joystick drift why is the joystick technology so bad now?
Do we normally say Joy-Con drift?
That's why, because it's Joy-Con. Nintendo had it right. Maybe Nintendo was like, you know what?
Dude,
This
that's what
word
happened
sucks.
is there were a bunch of Japanese executives in a boardroom and they were trying to say joystick drift, and it wasn't their first language, and it's my first language, and I can't fucking say it. So they're like, is there potentially another name we might call this? And they're like, how about Joy-Con? Yes, Joy-Con, everyone can say Joy-Con in this room? Yeah, we're going to go with Joy-Con because that's easy.
Easier.
This is coming from, there were 3 posts in the Steam Deck subreddit. There were a couple more that I was able to find on Twitter and stuff. But it's all the right Joy-Con, joystick, whatever you want to call it. The right
stick.
one.
Can we say thumbstick?
Thumb.
That's
jobber.
easier.
The thumb jobber.
Well,
so the right thumb jobber is off. And it's really funny because these all are videos of the jobber not being touched, and yet the cursor is moving on the screen. What's really cool is one of the videos has the configuration settings up, and it shows the calibration of each, and the right jobber is just bouncing all over the axes, or the numbers are just all over the place, so you can actually see the software things, calculations or whatever that are going in to the drift, which you would never see on the Nintendo side. That's all happening in your poor little Joy-Con, which is going crazy trying to figure out what it's supposed to do. Steam has responded to this because they aren't Nintendo, which is pretty cool. They said they looked at it and it's a dead zone calibration issue that came from the recent firmware update, and they shipped a fix and they've addressed it and they'll keep an eye out.
Sure can't wait for that Steam Deck V2.
Dude, I think it's fixed. I believe him. I'm prone to believe that it was a firmware thing.
Oh, I'm sure, but there's so many of these bugs. That's, I guess, the thing.
But to be the optimist, at least it's not Nintendo just saying that's not a thing. That doesn't exist. Fuck you.
Joy-Con
for years. They did that for years.
That doesn't seem right.
Nah, those don't drift. The Joy-Cons? Are you guys thinking of joysticks or Joy-Cons? You may be confused.
Which is this?
You
This
see,
is on
ours
the
are called
Switch?
Joy-Cons. Yeah, you may. I think you're confused.
Yeah, it sounds wrong.
Oh, also, there's 1,000 games on this thing now.
Dude, I've seen a lot of little indie games that I play. There'll be a small update, and on the games I'm into, I read the just quick patch notes, and a lot of them recently have been, I made this so it works on the Steam Deck.
Dude,
I like that.
It's dope because they have pretty strict rules. Would you be surprised to learn that?
I would be.
Getting verified on the Steam Deck is not easy. They say they need to be 100% working to get the full status. A game that works 99% of the time, but quote, is accessing one optimal in-game minigame crashes, any crash. One tutorial video doesn't render. That is unsupported, and they will not give you support. So if you have any crashes on the Steam Deck on your game and they go through it, bam, you're out. So to have 1,000 that have gone through this semi-rigorous test, that's pretty cool. So,
and I think a lot of these especially the little indie games that I play, and I say little indie games, these are games that have been done really, really well.
Yeah.
It's perfect, right? They're like this. Oh, this is great. This is exactly the type of platform we should be on. Think of Vampire Survivor, right?
Oh,
I mean,
one
no
joystick.
One joystick.
And it's the left one.
You can eat
it's not
cereal
even the
while
right
you're playing.
Jobber.
Yeah, it's the good jobber.
It's the good one that doesn't get broken. The good jobber. The good jobber. Write that down.
That's the name of the soda, I think.
And now time for 7 sleazy minutes with Activision. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna try. Do you want me to do a timer or a countdown? Which would you prefer? What's more dramatic? 7 minutes.
Okay,
for all this.
I'll do a timer, and I'm gonna call out a minute every time.
Okay, I'm just gonna cruise then. Here we go. Bang, bang. 7 minutes with Activision. Bobby Kotick is leaving his board position with Coca-Cola. Why did he have this?
Yeah.
10 years this motherfucker was on the board of Coca-Cola. This came as an announcement from Coke's side. Coke was like, yeah, fuck Bobby Kotick. He's out. Even though his name kind of sounds like our brand.
It says he's leaving. He's getting the boot. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and he releases a statement, of course, this charming individual, quote, I am decided not to stand for re-election to the Coca-Cola Company board in order to focus my full attention on Activision Blizzard. Bitch, you're leaving that too. I'm sorry. And he says, it's been a privilege and a pleasure to serve on the Coca-Cola board for the past 10 years.
How did he get this? How did
larger
this
question,
guy get this?
What the fuck is boards? So I'm sorry. So we just have companies that like find rich guys that work at other companies and give them more money. Yeah. That's what a board is. And they're like, this is how things work. These are called checks and balances. I'm like, yeah, I trust corporate America. Next up, Activision Blizzard has been disinvited from speaking
1 minute
at South by Southwest. Given the this is a quote, given the ongoing and unfolding nature around the sexual harassment accusations being covered up at the executive levels of Activision, we decided it was best not to have high-profile speakers from Activision present at South by Southwest this year, said Linda Park, VP of Communication, in a statement to the Washington Post. So there was a higher-up, some C-suite manager type, whatever, at Activision that was supposed to set to speak at South by Southwest.
They essentially broke up with them.
Yeah, and they're like, you're out. And it speaks to kind of a larger trend that just this is the company non grata. Like nobody wants anything to do with these guys, even in the background, even in like kind of the more professional like event space world. Yeah. They're like, these guys are poison.
2 minutes.
Fucking toxic. All right, so next up, Call of Duty, Candy Crush, and Warcraft account for 82% of all of Activision's revenue now.
Candy Crush still in it.
Candy Crush, Call of Duty, and Warcraft. That is your portfolio. That is the bleakest shit among all of this bleak shit. This comes from their annual report, which also states that, quote, related media attention can be expected to have an adverse effect on our ability to attract and retain employees and has resulted in work stoppages. You don't say. People don't want to go work for the devil. Shocker.
Can I just say real quick, though, like kudos to Candy Crush, because Call of Duty is like a franchise. Warcraft is a franchise.
Peter Peterson got out of this.
No, but listen to this. Call of Duty is like tons of games. Warcraft, handful of games. World of Warcraft 1, World of Warcraft 2, Warcraft, and then World of Warcraft, right? And then Candy Crush.
Candy Crush
they
slips
made
in here.
That they're sitting here like one of these things is not like the other. Like I don't like Candy Crush, not a fan myself.
Just slipping under the radar though.
But they're just like, hey, we're here next to Warcraft.
Yeah, next to a service that is like $30 a month. Candy Crush hangs.
Mm-hmm.
So also in this report, the company said that there was a California law that required it to add another woman to its board of directors by the end of 2021, and they failed to do so.
They didn't. That's not even hard to do, you guys.
They just didn't even No, it is fucking hard to do. You know how hard it is to find a non-white rich dude that works at another big rich company to work on your board? Peterson, it's almost fucking impossible. There's only like 30 dudes and they are all on the same fucking boards. And if you can't find a guy with those 30 dudes...
4 minutes. Did they try to catcall her to get her to join? Like, hey, baby, come over here, join this board.
Got a board for you. That's a good board for you to sit on.
That's the only way they knew how to get a girl to come over. Like, this has never worked, but it's the only thing I have.
I gotta learn how to wolf whistle. That would make this a lot better because these guys are living in the fucking 50s. So they couldn't get a woman on the board, and when they like addressed it in this report, dude, they literally were just like, well, the Microsoft thing is happening, so we didn't think we had to do that anymore.
Oh, you guys...
They said, we're all going to be gone after the Microsoft acquisition, so what are you going to do? Fire us? That's why they didn't do it. Not to be like, as a measure of good faith, we
Yeah.
tried really hard to prove that we weren't an outgoing group of shitheads.
Oh, you wanted us to...
No.
You told us to add a skirt to our board? I don't think so. No one tells us what to do.
No one tells us dudes what to do.
Like, that is not... Like, legitimately, that's not hard. That should not be hard. To be
It was
like...
impossible. Nigh impossible for these guys to find a single woman in the course of 1 year to just hand money out,
to just be at the
to
board,
just sit at a fucking meeting, just sit there and rubber stamp sexual harassment, bing, bang, boom, all day. You could find a woman to do that. I guarantee you. Nope, they couldn't do it. And then they said, fire us.
Yeah,
Fire
there's
us.
probably a bunch of ladies from the Trump administration who'd be in for that. I'm sorry, I had to.
Absolutely. Anyway, so
we have 1 minute. 1 minute.
The last thing with 1 minute left is wholly unrelated to all of this, but amidst all of this shit. But there's another Warcraft expansion coming out next week, so that's fun.
They're trying to catch up to Candy Crush's revenue, so
I guess
Warcraft
I just love
expansion.
that in the middle of all of this, they're like, "Hey, a Warcraft expansion!" Like nothing else is happening, and I'm just like, "Isn't that quaint? Isn't that cute?" It's like a something that would happen in 2019. I'm like, oh, that's cute. Everything before 2020 is just like, like, the weekdays where they're filled with nothing but weak people. Yeah, like another Warcraft expansion.
What are the chances that this one's going to be a letdown? 20 seconds.
1,000%.
It absolutely. It already is a letdown.
I'm let down by the fact that they announced it instead of just saying, you know what, we're done.
They didn't even give us a hype video. I don't think.
No, we're not going to get one. The White House has announced that it's exploring regulations for cryptocurrency, which kind of, I think, defeats the purpose of cryptocurrency.
Just got to get
Isn't
in
that
on
the whole
that crypto
idea
game.
that it's like an unregulated market where you can't track or trace the purchases or the wealth or who owns what or when or where or how.
Yep.
But now we're going to be like, well, I do have to report all of that to the IRS. See, friend, that I'm buying heroin from on the dark web. And that person's like, I'm sorry, what did you just say? As I'm ordering a hit for you on the dark web that I'm also paying for in cryptocurrency.
Yep. Yeah,
this is kind of I mean, it makes sense. This is an absolutely
it's not
makes
shocking.
Total sense that the government is moving to regulate this wild west. This is an executive order from President Biden, which is a wide-ranging order that goes to a lot of different government agencies to develop policy recommendations on digital assets and cryptocurrencies, so NFTs and crypto.
What are the chances we start seeing NFTs as part of campaigning? Or so the presidents are like, hey, Biden 2024 or whatever, here's the Biden crypto. You're a donor, get an NFT.
Don't put that fucking evil.
It's gonna
Us.
happen.
What did we do to deserve this thing that you're saying? What have we done? We made it through to the other side of 2020, and then you say that we should have politician NFTs in the next election?
Yeah, just throw in a donation of $1,000 and get
broken glass. I hate that.
election specific NFT. It's happening.
I just think the wording on this is so funny, taking into account the fact that our government is run by 70-year-old people and older. I think it's kind of like a what the fuck is this? What? Because that's the order. It's like, everybody, hey, everybody, what fucking is this? Does anyone know what crypto is? Hey,
I keep hearing about cryptocurrency.
FBI,
Will somebody tell
do you guys
me?
know what crypto is?
And they're like, oh, we were worried he was going to ask about that.
Oh God, well, I'll put together a PowerPoint for him. So yeah, I guess they're looking to move quickly on it, because that's also part of this like old man yells at cloud and is like, is that cloud giving me all the tax revenue it should be? Which I'm like, good on you. Yeah, we should be getting all the tax revenue we should be. tax cheats burn in hell. Amazon Prime Video is eyeing a God of War series. This is all rumors. But I will say, I at first was going to be like, JD, do the Alex Jones thing. Do it, buddy. And my throat was like, hey, how many years do you want left? And my throat cancer doctor was like, I could send another kid to college if you do the Alex Jones thing. Keep doing that.
Like, do it. Do the Alex Jones thing.
Do it. Do the Alex Jones thing. But then I was so grateful because I found out that the article was written by Nelly Andreeva, who is the co-editor-in-chief of TV for Deadline magazine. I mean,
what does this mean?
I'm willing to call that not total fake news. She seems very confident in her reporting here. And I don't think you get to co-editor-in-chief of TV for Deadline.com without having a little bit of gumption and journalistic ethics.
Well, hopefully.
Listen up here, folks.
Uh-oh.
Deadline.com.
Deadline.com is not what you think it is.
It's a den of lies and hypocrisy. Baby blood is fueling all of their servers. God damn. Where does that stuff come from? I start doing the voice and these things just come out of me.
I was not thinking about baby blood 20 seconds ago, and now I did. It just came into my brain.
Now I can't stop.
Is that Alex Jones' secret? He just, his voice, his voice makes these
He's
things
got baby blood on the brain.
come into the ether. He just like, it didn't exist in his head before he started talking.
He's just... His voice is like controlling him. It's like some fucking H.P. Lovecraft story where every time he talks, he's like, why is this who I am? I fucking hate it.
The demon he's actually controlling the demon via his voice, not vice versa. It's the opposite. Okay, back to God of War. I do
God
like
of War
this because I am watching, as I've told you, JD, I'm watching this Viking Valhalla series, and I love it. And this feels like it could have that same sort of feel, like an old Norse or whatever the time frame or era or region they want to start this on. But just Kratos going around and hitting people with an axe and that sort of thing. I don't know. I'm in. I feel like they've done other things well along this same vein. So this could be fun.
So it says that Prime Video is in negotiations for this right now. The adaptation would be coming from The Expanse, the creators of The Expanse, which I fucking love.
Yeah.
I think they do a good job. This is Mark Fergus and Hawk Otsby. You don't know those people.
No.
And yeah, it looks like they have some good names involved in the mix, according to this completely unconfirmed reporting. But knowing Amazon's whole thing, dude, can I just say, I gotta. It's kind of funny to me that watching in this battle of billionaires, everyone seems to be wanting to get into games, to video games. And it's hilarious watching people like Zuckerberg just chase trends like a dog chasing cars, no fucking idea what he's doing. Where Bezos with this Amazon thing, he's hit a wall a couple of times with the Amazon Game Studios. They've really struggled, and they have been it's bad PR for the company. It's been bad publicity. It's just bad across the board. But their video service has been crushing it, and the fact that they're like, hey, video games are still hot. Whether or not they're being played, like, let's just explore other ways we can explore. And they've found, in my opinion, I think they've found a niche here. I mean, you look at the success that they've had, and they're working on this Lord of the Rings thing now.
I think they have taken the like fantasy genre, sci-fi genre, and done very well with it. Yeah. Right? They've got The Boys, they've got the Lord of the Rings stuff coming. They've got, like, I think they have found an audience, found a tone that works really well with their audience. And you're right. For some reason, Amazon Amazon, what is it called? Amazon Prime Video has been killing it.
And I should
love
say
it.
I should course correct because I made it sound like they're making a lot of video game content. It's not that. It's just they're making a lot of adaptation content.
Yeah,
because like the Reacher one and Lord of the Rings and these other ones, that's what I should say. Is they're adapting a lot of things,
existing things, and making it into something very good.
Yeah. So I want to be cynical about this, but
I won't be. I feel good about it.
Here's my one cynical point is that God of War as a game, that last one especially. So if this one goes back to Greece and it's gonna clean up the whole PlayStation 2 era storytelling of the first 3 games, then fuck yeah. But the last game they did is a series. It is, you could just watch someone play it and you would get the same experience. So if they are going to adapt God of War 4, if that's the direction, I don't like that. I want them to go to Greece. I want them to do his starting stuff. I don't want them to start with the reboot stuff. That would
maybe each season he's tackling a new pantheon of gods would be fun to me. I'm in for that.
Yeah, anything other than just like we're just going to do the one that's popular now. We're going to do his son is Loki story. We're just going to rewrite it because we've seen that happen where they did a 1-to-1 of the most recent, with the Tomb Raider movies. And you know what? Those just didn't hit because I got it confused because it was literally like a remake of the game. It was so similar that the end fight was the same and everything. And I was like, my brain isn't sure which one is which. So that's what I would want them to avoid, and I feel like they would end up doing that were they to adapt the latest one. But other than that, way to go. Let's see what happens. Twitch is bleeding staff from the top down.
Speaking of Amazon,
on the other side of gaming, where they're not doing quite as well. I mean, they are the only show in town, as it were. But this is coming of a report in Bloomberg. The company has lost at least 6 of its top employees since beginning of the year. So 3 months over the course of the first 3 months of the year.
Quarter, yeah.
Including the COO, the chief operating officer, the chief content officer, and the head of creator development. That's
those are some big wigs.
Yeah, and the other this article goes on to say that the exodus began last year when more than 300 employees left, and so far 60 plus people have walked out the door this year alone. Dude, this is, I mean, it's in line with this. What are they calling it? The Great Leavening. What are they really calling it?
I don't know.
The Great Resigning.
The Great Leavening. That's to leavening.
Yeah,
are
we're gonna
we
call
talking?
it,
is this like a bread situation?
It's bread making.
Oh, okay. I didn't get it until you said
stuff.
that. Yeah,
I don't know. They're calling it. It's like it's just it's a term to describe all the people that are. Is that what it's called? The Great Exodus?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
All the people that are quitting their job because they're fucking over it. And this is all part of that. And that's, I mean, I was part of that. I quit my job last year because I was fucking over it. And I think a lot of people have been part of that. Jenna quit hers earlier this year because she was over it. So you can bundle that all up and say, look, that's just what everyone's doing everywhere. This article doesn't seem to
it doesn't like tie it to that.
Yes.
But this is a lot. I mean, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Going out the door. And okay, whenever a lot of big wigs are going out the door, I feel like that's a sign of, I mean, it could just be a fluke, right? But it feels like a sign of bad times ahead that they don't want to be in on. That
Dude,
they
you never
don't
want to be on a ship where the
of.
captain is leaving. Or all the guys that are manning the sails are like, you know what? I'm going to go work on that other ship. A lot of this is attributed to in this article, which is based on some speculation from outside people and some internal interviews and people that they've talked to. But the gist of it is that Twitch has been hiring up staff like crazy to respond to its rapid growth. And in so doing, they ran out of people that are really passionate about what Twitch is doing and are qualified to help. And so what did they start doing is they started looking to Silicon Valley. And once they did that, they found people that didn't really give a shit about Twitch as much as they did about improving their careers, advancing, making money, and X, Y, or Z. And so they seem to think that the people there feel like there's, that magic has been lost. You could say the same thing has been, not the same thing, but there's, a similar trend at Blizzard where you have a magic that grew and built the studio into greatness, and then its own greatness caused it to hire a bunch of people that detracted from that. That's kind of the deal here. There are a few quotes. This is a quote that just sums up what I said, which is, quote, "We went down to the Silicon Valley route, hiring from Facebook, from Twitter." And he added that many recruits had little understanding of gaming or live streaming and were, quote, "unwilling to learn what this community was and why it was special."
Well, you hire a bunch of new people and expect the culture to stay the same. It's just not going to. If you're not harboring that culture, if you just expect it to be what it is because you like it, it's not going to happen. So it seems like they just went and said, let's hire 1 billion people. They hired a bunch of people, and now they're like, things are changing. They don't like that.
Yeah, and I think the whole Silicon Valley thing I think it's bullshit, and I think it's a bullshit excuse, because this made me think of another poor hiring practice in the video game industry from Riot Games. Do you remember how one of the responses during their lawsuit 3+ years ago, when they were talking about how they only hired fans, very hardcore fans and players,
I can't forget,
of League of Legends. Like, they looked at how many hours you played the game. They looked at your character stats. They looked at those types of things. So there was a lot of arguments that were made that was like, that's, grossly limiting your employees to this demographic of your gamers. And there was an argument to be made there.
Well, and I bring up this in that instance in a professional capacity on a regular basis.
Interesting.
Because when we're talking diversity, because in Riot's case, they knew it was like 85 or 90% of their player base was male.
Yep.
And then they're saying, we didn't have discriminatory practices. Just everyone that was interested was male. And we're like, well, this is why you're hiring. Anyways, I bring that up all the time because it is unintended consequence.
And so I guess the point that I'm getting at, and I'm saying is, and I know that the streaming world is just the same. It's very heavily trends male in terms of especially viewership. But to say like you couldn't find fans that understood your product, and you had which they aren't saying. They're saying that this is basically, these are employees saying that higher ups took the path of least resistance, and they just. This is another quote that I really like. "Starting in 2017, the company began hiring people from non-gaming companies like Pandora or Amazon, who often didn't even use the platform. These recruits, in turn, hired former colleagues." So at that point, it just becomes a nebulous tech company. It's just a tech company. Yeah. And you know what? There is a place for that. There is, if you are in financial software, if you are in tech software, if you are in these things, or I'm sorry, if you are in like tax software, I should say, there is an event management software, whatever. That's fine. Everything's the same. It all kind of blends together. Everything just looks the same or whatever. Great. Twitch is not that. Twitch doesn't even have any valid competitors. Twitch needs to be its own thing. It needs to be treated as such, and you need to hire people that understand that. And they never did. They just hired a ton of people. This is the last quote I'll read because I really liked it, is they spent a lot of time building buttons, but not a lot of time extending their content calendar. Whereas an entertainment company will say, let's fund musicians for 10 years. Let's get this actress to commit to 3 movies. They don't think of their creators that way at all. They want to pay them, of course, but they only if they're consistently producing content. So that was the thing, is people here didn't understand what the people that were running and have been running Twitch for the last 10 years don't understand Twitch. They don't understand the audience. They don't understand what makes it special. And they're coming from Pandora or Amazon, where the goal is to just get people to click buttons and spend money. That's the drive. But with Twitch, that's not it. The drive of the company, and that's what this whole article is pointing out, and I think a lot of employees would agree, is to obsessively support the content creators on Twitch, because they are Twitch. There is no Twitch without them.
There's nothing
else. Doesn't fucking exist. So that's the thing, is that like it's just like Amazon supports the shit out of its sellers to the detriment of its buyers, because they realize that without their sellers, Amazon doesn't exist. But these people came in and they wanted to exploit both the audience and the content creators. They wanted content creators to spend money. They wanted everyone spending money constantly at all times. And it has really caused a souring, I think, in the employment, because the employees are like at odds with, because they're like, obviously this is wrong. The employees on the ground, the employees that are like at our level, understand this implicitly. They can see it every day. But the higher ups, they don't care, and they're not listening. And so people are just leaving, including the higher ups. Anyway, interesting to see how this develops, because Twitch isn't going to go away. Twitch isn't going to go under. There is no other Twitch. So Twitch is just going to keep getting shitty? That's the future of Twitch? Someone actually made the game from the Californication music video.
Dude, this is fantastic.
I love this.
I mean, first of all, you have to go watch the video.
If you haven't seen the Red Hot Chili Peppers music video for their song Californication, that was, what was it, 2001 or something?
Maybe 2001, 2000, yeah. 2.
That was 1999.
Wow.
June of 99.
We were way off.
Wow. The freewheeling times. There was a music video that just had the silliest graphics, and it was like a fake video game throughout. That was, the video game would be the California video game, I guess, that they envisioned.
Yeah.
Through the eyes of the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
And it was, you were
the
playing
technology
as
of the 90s.
the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
So this thing has just lived in people's heads. I think like a fever dream for some people that aren't sure if this happened to them. They woke up late one night and this was just like on the TV and they didn't know what it was. And then like 20 years later, they saw it on YouTube and they're like, holy shit.
Wait, that was real?
That was real? So that's this music video. And somebody was like, I'm going to turn that fever dream into a lucid dream. And now you can play this. The game is janky and shitty and just kind of works as well as it works because the music video was the exact same way.
Yeah.
It plays as well as the music video looked like it played. Like, you didn't watch that music video and want to play that game. Let me tell you that. You watch that game and you're like, ugh, that game looks shitty.
Yeah. Well, is this a B footage of
Yeah, like a video game in a sitcom kind of a deal. Like, that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
Facebook gaming has become a weird, dead digital ghost town.
All right, so we talked about Twitch.
Yep.
But
you remember Facebook gaming was when Microsoft rolled out Mixer, and they were like, hey, we're going to have a competitor to Twitch. And everyone's like, cool. Everyone is actually pretty bullish on Mixer, if I remember correctly, because they're like, it's backed by Microsoft. They know what they're doing. They have a console that they can incorporate with their streaming.
They paid for some. They paid,
and
for
then they
some
brought
streamers.
They brought in Ninja, the highest like viewed streamer in the world at the time, and they gave him like $50 million to stream exclusively on Mixer.
Yeah,
and dude, it was like a matter of months, and it went under. And what did they say? They said, everyone go to Facebook gaming. And at the time, we thought that was a really benevolent move. It was like a, hey, you know, we're just sending all of our people over to Facebook gaming. We are Microsoft and we're nothing but magnanimous. So enjoy. Turns out it was a fucking curse. Turns out they put the Mixer curse on Facebook gaming, and Facebook gaming went on to die. But its death has been far more ignominious. It has been terrible. Apparently, so this is based
Facebook
on another.
Decided to just not kill it. Like Like Microsoft was like, okay, you know what? We just need to end this miserable life. Facebook is just letting this creature turn into Gollum over the years.
They're just dude. It's just a gremlin just sitting in the basement, lapping up water. It's everywhere. They don't give a
Zuck, let's
shit.
put him out of its misery. We got to get rid of this thing. And he's like,
just go down there with a shotgun. And Zuckerberg's like, dude, I can't even hear the words you're saying. This
I love my
is
gremlins so much.
I just think they're so great. My gremlins are gonna. What will they make the metaverse out of if not my gremlins? This was another report in Bloomberg, and she just kind of digs into a lot of the content that she was able to discover just on kind of a random sample. This is a recent February morning. The number one spot on Facebook gaming was dominated by video from the military game Arma 3, billed as footage of Ukraine's invasion of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. That's the number one video. Forget the Ukraine stuff.
Dude, I have Arma 3. Should I do this?
Arma 3 is your number one streamed game. Okay, so that's cool. And then sometimes top videos on this service show Southeast Asian women selling foot callus removal kits or diet pills with content tags like playing Grand Theft Auto 5 or playing League of Legends. Some videos that purport to be live run for up to 11 hours with looped recorded footage.
Wow.
So, dude, this is exactly what you imagine it to be. Mm-hmm. Anybody that's still on Facebook, God, I haven't been on Facebook in years, and I can still visualize exactly what this would look like, because this is what a lot of Facebook's like experimental playgrounds looked like. Because Facebook, like Google, the entire corporate structure thrives on new features and people constantly like making and building new features, whether or not they're needed or wanted. And this is seems like Facebook gaming was one of those. Seems like Facebook gaming was never something they actually meant to actually invest resources in moderation or anything. The summary here is that this isn't attracting new streamers. All the ones that had any amount of audiences have already left. Who wants to stream here? Who wants to set up and start shop as a new streamer on Facebook gaming? Why? So your grandma can post racist memes on your fucking video feed? Where's the draw there? So this launched in 2018. So this has been around for 4 years, and they did do a lot of deals with streamers. There were some as high as $1 million that they just threw money at it, the same way that Microsoft threw money at it. But what they found out, the streamers, I should say, not Facebook, because they knew this all along. The streamers found out because they looked at their streams and saw a lot of views the first couple days and thought, wow, Facebook gaming is really working well for me. But then they start going to the comments and they see comments like, what is this? And why is this on my fucking feed? And like, how do I block this? And like, which way to the Olive Garden? Because this is just showing up on random people's news feeds, because that's how they're inflating. Facebook is inflating the viewership stats because no one is actually there on Facebook to watch video game streaming. So they figured, well, we're just going to make new organic audiences using our algorithms. But guys, your algorithms are sloppy and they don't fucking work for the advertisers that give you money. You should know that well enough to not rely your own features and functionality on your own sloppy algorithms. Sorry. And Facebook's whole response to this article? That doesn't happen. Facebook gaming is great.
You guys just don't get it.
They literally just said nuh-uh to all the stuff that I just outlined. They're like, that doesn't happen. Not here.
There is, nope. I did find one way to block it. So if you are still on Facebook, there is one way to block from getting these. Okay, you have to copy this word for word. It says, I do not allow Facebook to utilize, and you have to copy and paste it. I'll send you the link. Post it on your Facebook page.
Facebook. Dude, I love that shit. That is exactly the audience that they were pushing this to.
Yeah.
And everyone was surprised that it didn't work. So yeah, that's Facebook gaming. You guys were wondering on an update, what happened to Mixer? Where did Ninja end up? Well, I'll tell you, it didn't end up on Facebook Gaming. Hey, man, what do you want to do tonight?
I don't know. Want a video game?
Too tired, dude.
Well, what if we just, watch someone else play games?
What do you mean?
Bro, there's this awesome thing called streaming. It just lets us watch other people play video games, so we don't even need to, play the game anymore.
No way. We just, watch?
Yeah, bro.
I don't know. Still seems like too much work. What else you got? Is there something even more, meaningless I can do with my time?
Hey there, kids. It's me, Facebook Gaming.
We're actually in our 30s.
Facebook Gaming? What's that?
Facebook Gaming is the latest, hippest trend in gaming. Do you guys remember Mixer, Microsoft's streaming platform?
Do we ever? Didn't Ninja move to Mixer?
He sure did. But now, according to Microsoft, Facebook Gaming is the new Mixer.
Wait, so does Ninja stream on Facebook Gaming?
Not even once. But that's okay, because Facebook Gaming is so much more.
Facebook Gaming? What's that?
I'm so glad you asked. Have you ever felt like the time you spend gaming could be spent doing something more useless?
We were just talking about that.
Well then, Facebook Gaming has the answer for you.
Facebook Gaming? What's that?
Okay, I'll tell you. Do you guys like foot callus removal videos?
Not really.
That's Facebook Gaming. How about some videos about the benefits of taking daily diet pills? Bam! Facebook Gaming.
So Facebook Gaming is just like you took all the scammy ads in my Facebook newsfeed and started calling them Facebook Gaming.
Exactly.
Let's hit rewind. I know what I'm doing tonight.
Hey man, what do you want to do tonight?
I don't know. Facebook Gaming?
Facebook Gaming? What's up? Amazon Games is revisiting the gender-locked classes in their new MMO, Lost Ark.
Okay.
So this is a Korean MMO, if you guys remember, that has released in South Korea years and years ago, and it's been there, and it's a very Korean MMO. Like Terra was another one that came out a while ago. In that, one of these tropes in these MMOs is, I think, Guild Wars 2, if I'm not mistaken, was another one as similar vibes, is that they have gender-locked player classes. So if you want to play a warrior, for example, you're probably going to be a dude. If you want to play a mage, you're going to be a woman. If you want to be a healer, you're going to be a woman. If you want to be just do the stereotype in your head. That's how the game works. And in Korea, that was like, whatever. Hits the shores here, and everyone's like, hey, turns out that we've been talking about gender here for a while, and have some opinions about how you've locked this here. Yeah, locked these classes by gender.
And
our opinions are that this is not ideal.
Well, and not only that, but it is like very video game tropey in that,
like 90s tropey.
The outfits available in these classes are, I mean, you can picture it. I said that, and you're like, I know what you're talking about.
The female classes, the outfits available for the female classes.
For the female classes are skimpy. The armor is no armor at all. And then for the males, they're like these big, bulky, tough-looking armor, that's covering them from head to toe. And the female armor is like the higher level you are, the more boobs you're showing or something. Like
the less armor you need.
Your full
you're so
midriff
powerful, right?
is like open, and like
I'm a level 100. My midriff is made out of steel that you can't see or anything. It just looks sexy.
Dude, you love it though. It's so hot.
It's so hot.
Oh,
come
man.
heal me. All right. So this is anyway, so there was a response because Smilegate RPG is the company that actually like made this game. I think Amazon is just responsible for publishing it here in the States. And they did respond. Here's a quote from Smilegate. Classes are tied pretty closely to their character models in terms of function and animation. So bringing opposite gender characters to a class takes more work than just making a differently gendered model available. That seems like bullshit. That doesn't seem to make any sense. That doesn't pass just a stiff test, but whatever. Another quote, in the future, Smilegate RPG will be creating more counterparts for classes that are still gender locked, and we will bring these to Arkesia in time. So basically on the gender lock classes, don't expect any changes, I think was kind of the gist.
Well, and just my last thing is I just think for the U.S. audience, it probably is at this point a little bit jarring. So when we asked Trent about it, because he's playing it,
yeah,
he mentioned that he has a max level sorceress character, and all of his outfit options are like mid-thigh summery looking dresses.
A summer dress. Well, he's running raids in a summer dress. That's Trent's option with his high level mage.
And that looks bizarre because he's running next to, his example was his brother is this guy in gigantic armor that actually looks like it's protecting him, and then he's in a sundress.
I'm so sorry. The sundress thing is killing
me. He's in a sundress running over.
I just keep thinking about like how many women I know that just get so delighted for the summer because they got to wear a sundress again. And I'm like, this is what they thought. This is the outfit choice they thought for like a hardcore fantasy magic character, is the one that like just sends like delights into people's heads. Like, it's sundress season again. Like,
yes, finally, I can feel like I'm wearing.
That's who your character model is.
Yeah, I feel like I'm wearing light, breathy clothing. That's what you want when you're going into battle.
That's what I want to think about. Is like a lemonade, a lemonade in a mason jar. That's the fucking vibe I want. Maybe the straw is paper because I'm economic. I'm environmentally friendly.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, that's Trent's character is ice and lemonade in a mason jar, sipping that on a patio, and maybe there's a dog tied up nearby, and it's just really happy. And that's Trent's character. So Lost Ark does not care about this. They don't give a shit. They did respond to the skimpy class thing, the skimpy ass, whatever. Because this is kind of a twofer where it's like, I want to play a mage and now I have to look at a thong woman, I guess, the entire time. Which, I don't know. Anyway, so they're not going to remove these outfits. Obviously.
Yeah.
Because this game is really popular right now, and it's clearly popular for a reason. But to appease the Puritans like Trent out there that want to see non-summer dress outfits, maybe like a summer, is there like a longer version of a summer dress? Like a Pioneer summer dress?
Like a chainmail skirt with a chainmail sports bra or something like that. That's going to be their...
So they're adding more options. That's their response, basically, is like, if you want to be slutty, be slutty. If you want to be practical and actually, feel like your character fits the game lore where it's hitting, I don't know, a giant warthog with a hammer and it's wearing a sundress, maybe your character can have a different look. So that's going to be interesting. I think when Trent is back on, we'll probably bring this back around because I want to hear more about... what do you think he calls her?
Oh, I don't
Something
know.
like Abigail. Who is drinking that lemonade?
Look at me. I'm Abigail.
Abigail P. She tells you her last initial. Joining its peers, Sony is being accused of having problems with sexism.
Sony.
Stop. Can everyone just stop for one fucking second? Because these are I hate these. These are the stories I never, ever, ever want to do. I just feel like they're the worst, so we're just going to get through it. women have added their names to this lawsuit. I think we mentioned in the past that there has just been sexist treatment at the gaming giant, in that just like general discrimination. I don't think the accusations are at like Riot Games level.
No,
where it was just like out of control frat boy shit. This honestly seems just kind of like standard corporate sexism. Am I
like
is
be
that
better? Yeah, is like what is kind of the message that I'm getting here. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't. It's not as like. It's not like Cosby Suite types of situations that I'm seeing, at least.
I'm not shocked to read this. I'm not like aghast. This is like something I would expect from a large company. Not that it's okay or excusable. Sony did respond to the initial lawsuit from a single woman saying, like, you don't have any proof. You don't have any claims or policies or incidents to cite. So I think this is kind of funny because this is a follow-up. Mary Harrington, who worked at Sony PlayStation and Sony Online for over 16 years, cited a lack of women considered for senior roles during, quote, calibration sessions. You ever heard something more corporate than the term calibration?
I know. I was like, this
that
could
sounds
be
like
so
I'm getting
many things.
fired. If I see that show up on my calendar invite, I assume I'm getting
Oh,
fucking
I'm going on to a performance improvement plan then.
Yeah, and it's like you got 1 week before we calibrate you out of this company. If you know what I mean.
We're gonna do some recalibration around,
and you're not
going to
be part of that calibration. We're going to calibrate your job out on the curb.
Over to this other guy that we found.
So she says during one of these calibration sessions, only 4 women were considered for promotions compared to nearly 70 men. She described hearing comments about female candidates' family lives that weren't made about male candidates.
Yeah,
which is all the way up there on things that infuriate me more than anything.
That is something you hear, and I mean, in my own observation, it's something that I hear from, and I'll just say it, from a certain demographic, from men in their, late 50s, 60s,
men
types
in
of
the
thing.
booming ages.
Yes. So that really is, though, stuff that I hear that they think about, and they don't think anything they're
being
saying
considerate
is problematic.
and
They're like, well, oh gosh, I know she's newly married, and
oh my God.
And so she probably wants to start a family soon, or she's mentioned wanting to have kids. So we bet, you know what I mean? And you're like, okay, here we go. So yeah, this
so
is
crazy. Which
crazy.
is insane. Here's a perfect example of this. Peterson, you are like a single caretaker now
Mm-hmm.
of your kids and your wife. And did anyone ever make a comment like that during your career? Like, oh, he's married and he has 4 kids and a wife. What happens if he has to take care of all of them at the same time?
Yeah.
Is he going to be okay?
Nope, that's never. I've even heard that about a guy.
But that's the thing, is they're both equally, like, you both have this. I get so mad about this stuff. It makes me so mad because it's on its face illogical.
Yes,
and so deeply upsetting. So Sony, throw it in the mix. Sorry, everybody. Sony sucks too.
I think the only thing you mentioned, none of it was shocking. I think the only shocking part is that they don't say, the response from every single company should be, you know what? We saw what's been happening in the industry over the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen this stuff coming out over the last 5 years. And we
Sony
took a good
combative
look into ourselves and said, what can we be better at?
Be better.
Nobody's saying that. Like, that's the response I feel like we should see, and we've never seen. They're like,
no, Sony's been very combative here.
They're always like, us? Wait, this happened to us too? We thought, oh man, we were.
And
different.
they did directly critique the claimants in these cases that are filing these lawsuits. So I guess they're responding in like the old, like they're responding like it's 2014. That's like a 2014 response.
Yeah,
like
they should just be like,
response.
You know what? We
hear you.
We hear
We're
you.
listening.
Let's look at it. We want to look at it deeper. Thank you for bringing this up. We want to be better. we want, whatever.
Well, to be fair, this is a lawsuit, so I think they do want to protect themselves a little bit and not admit any fault or guilt.
Yeah.
But I don't think that this is going to stop at 8.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. They shouldn't be responding to this. They should be like,
that's a good point.
Look
They
at the
should've just kept
things
their
we've
mouths
been
shut.
doing over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
None of them are saying that. They're all just saying, nope, not us. And they're not saying, not us. Here's why. Here's what we've done. We looked at ourselves 7 years ago and said, man, we looked at ourselves 2 years ago and said, what can we do? No one's saying that. And that's what's crazy to me.
Weird. Super Nintendo World is opening next year in Hollywood. This is cool. This is actually just chum for Trent. Also a positivity note for our news. This is Super Nintendo World. If you guys missed it because of this pandemic that happened a couple of years ago, this did open in Japan. Super Nintendo World opened in Japan like a couple fucking years ago and has been open for years. But Japan has been like a closed off island during a zombie apocalypse.
Yep.
Ain't
In fact, you still can't go there. My dad was going to take my son and my other niece there this year. That's what they've been planning on, and they have to push it back till next year because you can't go to Japan right now. You can't go.
Nope. So that might as well not exist.
Yeah.
Super Nintendo World exists basically on another planet. If you're not Japanese,
in your mind, it exists.
Yeah, it doesn't. Forget about it. But it will exist for the rest of us plague rats who just banged through the pandemic like a pinball machine. You can go to Hollywood, the den of cleanliness. Universal Studios Hollywood will be adding Super Nintendo World in 2023. No actual date given beyond the year. So now they will have, if I'm not mistaken, Simpsons, Jurassic Park, Harry Potter, Nintendo Land, and of course, the creme de la creme, fucking Waterworld. Dude, Universal Studios Hollywood is legit. Like, they've been making a theme park for like 11 to 13-year-old JD. This is hitting for me. These are all of my favorite things that I loved at that age, except for Waterworld that I didn't even know existed because I was a fucking idiot.
Stupid
naive
kid. Get out of here, 12-year-old JD.
Sorry. So yeah, Super Nintendo World. I'm stoked we don't know anything about it other than it's going to be sick. I got to say, I told you, I think I might have talked about it when I went to Universal Studios like 3 years ago. How many years ago? It was very pre-pandemic. I think I spit in someone's mouth. Someone may have spit in my mouth. The things we did, But
lots of mouth spitting. I remember that was like the one thing I do remember about.
That's all I remember. And then we stood really close to each other in lines.
We licked,
just like always felt someone's crotch on my lower back.
Why was I licking my hand? I can't remember, but I was.
What was I licking? What was I licking? No, so I remember going to Universal Studios a couple of years ago, and it was like ungodly expensive. I think it was $140 for an admission ticket.
Yeah,
which
it's
is
expensive,
obscene. And I went there to do the Harry Potter thing, and then I saw Waterworld and whatever. And I gotta say, man, it was kind of fucking worth it. I don't like Disneyland. I think Disneyland is such just a shady way to just bilk money out of people. But Universal Studios kind of delivered for me on a theme park experience. And I walked into Harry Potter Land and like my jaw dropped. It felt like fucking the movies. Like I was in it for half a second and then I'm like, oh, it's 70 degrees in LA. But it's cool. And I think they will do a really good job with this. That's what I'm building at. Is I think if it was like, do you want Disney to do this or do you want Universal Studios to do this? I'd be like, well, honestly, I want Lagoon to do it. But if it's got to be somebody,
no, I do not want Lagoon to do this. It would be so like jankety,
so trashy. It would be the trashiest
full of
place on
14-year-olds working there.
14-year-olds just over in the bushes doing God knows what. How are they doing that and smoking cigarettes at the same time? I don't know.
Masturbating constantly overlooking the bushes at Laguna Beach.
Mario's got a cigarette. He's got his head lifted up, and he's just some guy smoking a cigarette under there. He's not even on break, dude. He's in the middle of the park.
He is getting paid for this.
He got the princesses up on the ski lift, just spitting on people. Dude, I've never wanted anything more than Nintendo Land by Lagoon. The trashiest place on earth.
Yoshi's just some kid painted green walking around.
Multiple kids painted green. So many kids, they just spray painted. Is this safe for me? Probably not.
It's fine. It's fine.
You're
probably going to quit in a couple weeks anyway.
Welcome to Nintendo Land.
Real super. We took our inspiration from Super Mario 2, so it's not going to be.
They based the whole park on the movies. The Leguizamo one.
It was the only live action inspiration we had.
Material. All the Goombas look like the guys in the fucking movies, and there's so many of them in the park.
Oh my gosh.
This is so upsetting.
What are we doing? What's happening?
Let's do kudos.
Kudos.
All right, kudos is our positivity segment. Usually things don't end on such a positive note in the news, and we have to bring them back up. But in the meantime, we're going to do kudos anyway.
We're going to pull it down, actually, just a little bit.
Down. Oh, I want to give another kudos to Peacock, but I won't. All right, Peterson, do you have some kudos?
Yes. I finally got to watch West Side Story, the remake, the version Steven Spielberg just made, released it in December of last year.
Okay.
I didn't get a chance. December was a little crazy for us, so didn't get a chance to go see it in the theater. Well, it is on Disney Plus now, and so I watched it. I finally watched it. It had gotten great reviews, so I was excited to watch it, and it's good. It's very good. If you ever watched the old one, I feel like I used to watch it in school a lot. I don't know why.
Because our education system sucks?
They were just like, because what I've learned now is the teacher was probably hungover. And so they were like, oh, I'm just going to put on a movie. Because I feel like I watched West Side Story 15 times in elementary school.
You know, we watched a lot. It was October Sky. We watched that in physics class. We watched that in history class. We watched that in sex ed class. We watched that in health class because the teacher gets Parkinson's or some shit.
Yeah,
Lou Gehrig's. That's what she gets.
So this was because your teacher was hungover or something like that. So we watched West Side Story a lot, and so I got to watch the new one. It was very well done. There was no Russell Crowe. If you remember, Les Mis.
No singing like this.
Everyone sang really well in the Les Mis remake, except Russell Crowe would come in.
And he sang exclusively through his sinuses.
And every number was terrible.
It was
every time
distractingly bad.
You were like, no.
Dude,
no.
Les Mis is awesome. It's my favorite musical, and that production was pretty decent. And he single-handedly ruined it. I've never rewatched it again.
Yeah,
so,
every time it is
I can't
jarring
believe
how bad he
him.
is.
I cannot believe they picked him.
I can't either. Okay,
you need him to bash someone's face in with a hotel phone? Russell Crowe is your fucking guy.
Need someone to
Singing?
sing? Don't. No, there's a lot of other people who can sing.
Not that guy.
Anyways, there was no Crow in this movie.
Yes.
West Side Story. All of the actors were fantastic. They all did so. Some of them, it was like their acting debut in like a major film. And they were really wonderful. All the songs were well done. The acting was great. It was a lot of fun. The sets looked good. I mean, honestly, impressive. So fun to watch. Of course, the songs hold up, and it kind of just brings back some of the nostalgia. If you aren't familiar with West Side Story, where have you been? No, if you aren't familiar with West Side Story, you'll still enjoy it.
How do you understand Gangland America if you're not familiar with this story? Honestly,
yeah,
gotcha.
And so my kids enjoyed it, and they had never seen the old one. So, and actually, this one's a little bit better because I would say the Puerto Ricans look a little bit more Puerto Rican. In the old one, if you go and look at pictures, JD, you should just go look it up. You'll be like, I'm pretty sure they painted that guy's face a darker shade, like 90% sure on the old one. This one, very good, very good. The actors are Hispanic, and they've got, they do really well. So, anyways, West Side Story, the one from 2021, directed by Steven Spielberg. Definitely watch it. It's on Disney Plus. I can't recommend it enough. I loved it.
It's kind of a shitty thing. Spielberg is just remaking classics.
Well,
just like, is he not even trying anymore? He's like, oh, you know what'll be a real classic? A remake of a classic. That's a classic Spielberg classic.
Okay, it's gonna be so good.
You're gonna love this. Next thing I'm gonna make, Close Encounters of the Third Time. You'll never see it coming. So I have a quick kudos for the most recent season of Marvelous Miss Maisel on Amazon Prime Video. This is a series I've talked about before. It is about a Jewish woman in the 60s who does stand-up comedy in New York and all the crazy shit that happens throughout her life. And the last season, the most recent season 4, has been awesome so far. I don't think the fans have liked it, but they're all stupid and wrong, and you agree with me. So
wow, okay,
it's good. You like it.
Don't play no reindeer games with reindeer games with reindeer games with reindeer games with reindeer games with. Don't play no reindeer games with me. I read your letters, convict. They got a shitload of cookies. Don't play no reindeer games with me.
All right, Reindeer Games is this segment where we play a fun game. Guys, I got a new one for us. Found this thing online on the internet called randomlists.com, which is kind of cool. And it gives you a random list of things. And if you go to randomlist.com/random-video-games, it just gives you 8 random video games.
Just 8 random games.
So this is going to be a wellspring of content for us that takes no work from us. We're really stoked about it.
No prep work.
No prep work at all. Lots of heavy improv work, though, so you're all welcome.
Not our best work, so we'll see what happens here.
We are basically Robin Williams. Here we go. So for Reindeer Games, because we were just talking about Super Nintendo World, and that's kind of where my head was at, and we thought Trent was going to be on, and amusement parks are like part of Trent's DNA.
He loves them.
God, he loves amusement parks. Yeah, he really does. I don't blame him, but they can't all be Lagoon. So
season pass holder.
I don't know if I've said this or maybe if you guys are new. I just want to put this out there because I'd like to make it stated as often as I can. I think Lagoon is superior to Disneyland in every way. There, I got that out of the way. All right, so our Reindeer Games this week is we're gonna roll a random list of games, and then whoever's up or whatever is going to pick a game out of that 8, whatever they think is best, to make an amusement park out of.
Okay.
Out of that game. Name some rides. Figure it out. We'll figure that out.
Okay.
Peterson, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
I'll hit one. Just tell me to stop. Say stop.
Stop.
Okay. Wow. This is the first one is FIFA 16.
Don't want to go to that. Don't want to go to that amusement park. Never in a million years.
So The Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt is on here.
That doesn't sound like a good amusement park either.
It does. It sounds like a great amusement park. It sounds
like a game reserve. You just go and just shoot things and kill things.
It's an amusement park in Eastern Europe for sure. Because otherwise this doesn't hold up.
Yeah, sure.
Because you're like, oh, is why are there there's too many naked people at this amusement park, and a lot of the attractions.
It's not even good naked. It's just weird naked.
Oh, yeah. If you've seen The Witcher, there's some weird naked on there. Yeah, so a lot of off-putting attractions. Let's see, the Wild Hunt would be one attraction.
So guys in flaming horses just like chase you down and you just run.
So you go and you pay for the Wild Hunt package at the front, and then you have
Not
your
cheap.
own specific Wild Hunt assigned to you, and they will show up periodically, and you just have to run from them.
Okay, this low key does sound kind of cool. I gotta say, I will say the videos you see that show up on like TikTok or whatever of the stormtroopers and shit at Star Wars Land,
Yeah,
and all the role playing that the kids and stuff do.
yeah.
That is really cool. And now that you're describing this, I'm like, I guess you could kind of do this.
Just everyone's gonna dress up like Geralt because they're like, who else am I gonna dress up as? I don't know what else to be. So
I
like
think
a
if
bunch of little
everyone
kids with white
agrees-
wigs.
Yeah, if everyone agrees to like play along with this though, I think it could go really well. Okay, so you tell me
Okay.
when to stop.
Okay, stop.
Okay, let's see. I can do well, I've got a couple good ones. I got Rocket League.
Okay, Rocket
I mean,
League.
just basically I just want Rocket League to be real. Just make Rocket League.
There's definitely some waivers that you have to sign coming into it.
But I'm afraid out of all of these, I got to go with the original Resident Evil here.
As an amusement park?
Dude,
Okay,
this
this
actually,
is-
it's an amusement park horror slash horror.
Haunted house.
Haunted house.
This is an
amusement
October
park.
specific.
No,
amusement
dude, I
park.
want this to be like a permanent thing because if you made a permanent fixture, and the fun thing that I like about this, the reason it jumped out is, do you remember the camera in the original Resident Evil, like how the
No.
game worked? So in Resident Evil, if you guys go Google the original one and the gameplay, it's a fixed camera. So you're in a room and your character can move around that room in like a 3D space, but the room doesn't move, the camera doesn't move. And if you like walk into a door, it's going to go through a door animation, and then you're going to be in a hallway, and you have to walk the length of the hallway to the end of the door. Then you hit the door, and there's a door animation, and then you hit it. So it's set pieces is what I'm getting at, and you could have a lot of really cool set pieces because Resident Evil is set in a mansion. So Peterson, what I'm describing is a haunted house that takes you like 2 hours to run through.
Okay, so like a extended haunted house.
Huge, like a haunted
It's
mansion,
a haunted
like just
experience.
haunted experience. Yeah, there you go. Like you go, we've taken a whole mansion because we finally managed to eat all the rich people, and we took one of their mansions and we just turned it into what?
So this is getting darker.
We turned it into a haunted house that you just go
Okay,
through
so
the
we
whole
find a
thing.
mansion, we murder the actual, like I'm talking actually kill the inhabitants.
Yeah,
and then we
it's
turn
not
it-
haunted if no one's died yet.
Oh yeah,
Who's haunting it if everyone's alive,
got it,
Peterson?
got it. Okay.
Do you even know how ghosts work?
Is it called Resident Evil, or can we call it Raccoon City? And who is there an existing company like Universal who makes this, or is this just its own thing?
Since it's a mansion and since we're kind of like it's like a home and it's somebody's
Mm-hmm.
home, we're gonna actually go with Residence Evil.
I don't like this.
All
Okay,
right,
I'm gonna do a
start
reroll.
rolling. Start rolling.
Okay, say stop.
All right, stop.
Okay, Stardew Valley.
Oh baby, so it's just a farm. You're just gonna put me on a farm, and that's the amusement as I just work.
It's yeah. So Stardew
This sounds
Valley
great.
is essentially like a petting zoo. You just go
Two-way
there-
petting zoo.
Yeah, two-way petting you. You pet the animals. The animals pet you.
Get you back.
No, actually, I feel like this exists. You know, when you go and visit like those farms that are open up for tourists, and you can go and like, oh, here you go, walk out in the field and go pick.
Yeah, it's only kind of depressing. Yeah.
Pick a strawberry, and then there's a bunch of sad animals. Yeah, so this does exist, except for there is a couple rides, like maybe a cave ride where it pulls you through like one
You're
of the
just
caves.
describing a state fair. You are literally describing a state fair or like a pick your own pumpkin patch.
Fine,
right now.
let's do a reroll. Stardew Valley's not a good one.
Here, no, I'm gonna go. You tell me when to stop.
Stop.
All right, so we got 2 Borderlands games. So
No, I don't want to.
That's not gonna happen. I've never heard of Grim Fandango. Well, I've heard of Grim Fandango. I don't know what it is.
You know anything about it?
There's also Sonic and Knuckles, which is kind of appealing because it fits the vibe of like a Mario Land and a Sonic Land with like if you had a bunch of ramps and stuff could be fun. But no, because I got to go with Double Dragon Land.
Double Dragon Land. Okay, this is made by Universal. I feel like this is a section in Universal. It's just like a street. Kind of I'm picturing like a
It's like a Surge commercial. That's the vibe.
I'm picturing like a U-shaped street, and it's all Double Dragon. So it looks like you're in like a Yakuza run Japan, but it's all like a on the docks type of thing. You know what I mean?
And the food there, you can get either a cheeseburger or an entire turkey on a plate.
Turkey. Well, they'll do the little ones. They'll be like a
turkey.
little Cornish game hen.
Yeah, Cornish game hen or a burger or an apple. And you're like, those are the 3 options. They're like, that is what we serve at our cafeteria.
Okay, come on. But they serve it under a barrel that you
have
smash.
to find them. Hey, I haven't even gotten to the garbage cans yet, because that's like the 3rd feature. But the 2nd feature is that at any given moment while you're walking down the street, a woman in high heels, in like stiletto high heels and a bikini, can run up and just whip you in the fucking face, just so hard with a whip, and you're like, a whip,
dude. They have little booths that sell candy whips. I'm in for Double Dragon Land.
And then sometimes people they will pick up a garbage can and throw it at you, and it rolls towards you and trips you.
Yeah,
but you can find, like we said, you can find an apple.
No, dude, that's one of the attractions. It's like a fun house, and there's like like some fun houses the floors move. This one has like foam trash cans that will roll, and you have to like dodge them, and then there'll be like a little foam whip that comes out, and you're like dodging it, right?
Dude, and now I'm realizing you could set this up to be the entire land or whatever could be set on a moving sidewalk. Like the whole street,
you don't stop.
A moving sidewalk that's like a street wide, and so it would cycle everyone through it. So you'd go through like the level, and you get to the end, and it'd be like, there'd be a pile of garbage at the end there.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's obvious piles of garbage and crates and stuff like that. Like, yeah,
dude, your whole foam description. That's what I'm describing. I'm envisioning a 200-foot long, 20-foot wide moving staircase with sets on either side, street sets or dock sets on either side, and then just so much foam-based, like foam-looking props,
stuff that are like
street
coming
props, like a foam dumpster that you can throw someone in.
You know that Japanese game show? What was it called?
Wipeout, dude.
No, what? Not that one, but the one where they had to climb up the mountain and the boulders would roll down.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
something's mystery. I can't remember. It was kind of wacky. I'm picturing kind of like that, but not going up a mountain. Like every now and then, someone will just chuck like a foam something out a window, and you're like picking them up and throwing foam stuff back.
And you're fighting.
Like, you'll find
because you gotta fight people before you get to the end of the moving sidewalk.
Yeah, it's all like lots of what's that called? Lots of LARPing, but like gang member LARPing, not like medieval LARPing. It's like, gang members throwing like bats and stuff.
Okay.
Well, that's my favorite one so far.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking we could expand our moving sidewalk 2D game amusement park concept. We go wide with this thing.
Yeah, I'm in for that.
You could do a Mario skin on it. You could do a Sonic skin.
Dude, you could do a Sonic skin on it.
Yeah, you can do all
that one. Just moves really fast. The sidewalk's like dangerously fast. So Sonic actually has been shut down.
The Sonic ride's been shut down because the Metroid ride never worked because you started to go to the right and then everyone's like, "Wait, reverse it. We gotta go back to the left. Reverse the bite. Reverse it."
Oh no!
Oh wait, I thought there's another room. Go the other way. I'm so sorry. I forgot the other room. Do you want to do one more?
Dude, I just rolled one that I thought was pretty cool.
Okay, what is it?
Pokemon.
Okay, Pokemon.
How
did Pokemon World not beat Nintendo World to the punch? Is what I want to know.
I don't know. It feels like Pokemon World would be a lot of fun, or like the rides would be a lot of fun. You know how there's like the Buzz Lightyear ride at Disneyland where you're like shooting things and you get a score, dude. Just like you get like
You're just like
Pokeballs
shooting
and
Pokemon.
No,
you're just like trying to kill them all.
You've got a big gun and you're shooting.
It's just like a Pokemon range.
The cute Pokemon only though. No, the
Dude,
main
can you
ride.
imagine the Pokemon Go stops?
Oh my gosh, it would be insane. But the main ride is like it's a small world type of thing where you don't do anything but just sit on a little boat and watch
look at
little
your phone.
and stare at your phone the whole time. You just watch little Pokemon scenes.
Oh, is the ride over? I wasn't paying attention.
This is so long. And there's only one song playing the whole time.
And it's kind of freaking unsettling, honestly.
Gotta catch 'em all.
It's a small
the whole
Pokemon.
time.
No, I hate that song. It's freaky.
Okay, now this is why they have not made Pokemon Land. It is actually kind of a nightmare. What kind of food do they serve at Pokeland?
We should see if the Lagoon people have considered it.
Have you guys thought about franchising to Pokemon? Like really
Pokemon
buying that
Lagoon
IP?
Could be really cool.
What kind of food would they serve at Pokemon Land?
Dude, what about a Sonic the Hedgehog water park?
Okay. Then you could like really well, I think well, hold on. I feel like Sonic the Hedgehog just works as rides in general.
Just the rides that you were strapped into.
Well, like any ride.
Yeah.
Like water.
You could
there
do the
could be
Green
water
Hill
park
Zone,
stuff.
Do the chemical plant.
Dude, and like any roller coaster would be perfect because it'd just be like fast roller coasters, lots of Sonic sounds, ding, 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 like getting rings and that sort of thing.
Oh,
I just feel like Sonic would be more like, did you ever go to Knott's Berry Farm?
No.
The
but
rides
I've heard
are
that it's dope.
The rides are a little fat, kind of like the more adult section of Universal, like with the Hulk ride and stuff like that, where the rides are pretty intense.
Yeah.
I feel like you could really get away with a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog content with loops.
They should
and
just
speed.
have one. How is there not a Sonic the Hedgehog roller coaster? There's never been that.
There
made.
has to be
roller coaster. That seems like a no-brainer. Spinning. Yeah, Spinball Whizzer is a spinning. Peterson.
Adventureland.
Wait, Peterson, where do you think Spinball Whizzer is located? Where possibly could Spinball Whizzer have been located?
So if I was to guess,
Staffordshire, England.
Oh,
at the Adventureland area of Alton Towers in Staffordshire. No, everybody hop on down and pop on the Spinball Whizzer, and you can be just like Sonic the Hedgehog Man.
No, I don't like this. Why is it called the Spinball Whizzer? That's the stupidest name I've ever heard.
Its top speed is 37 miles an hour. Its top speed is a survivable accident on a motorcycle.
No, this is
kidding me?
They have really screwed the pooch
Spinball
on this one.
Whizzer. And have you seen the pictures of it?
Yes.
It looks like neither a spinball nor a whizzer.
Dude, what's a whizzer? A whizzer?
You know.
Is
you
he?
Know. You know.
Is there a lot of urination on this ride? What is happening?
You will piss yourself. You'll be so fucking bored on the Spinball Whizzer. You'll be wondering, why isn't it spinning? Why doesn't it spin a single fucking time?
No.
Oh shit! I whizzed myself.
This ride is a mistake.
It's the magic of the Spinball Whizzer.
I hate this ride. I hate everything about it. But what if a Sonic roller coaster had a mechanism? You know how some have them where like it'll spin in a circle. What if your actual cart would spin in a wheel type of situation,
and it gave you like a Flintstones power way to do it
as
you used your legs?
Dude, that would be fun. Crazy.
Okay, I think we are at the bottom of the barrel here because I was just thinking, how do I get Peterson to bite on a Waterworld water park ride?
Dude, you know, I'm in.
Waterworld!
I'm always in for Waterworld.
You could be the catamaran and the
Look, I'm always in on Waterworld.
I'm
I don't care
here
what
for
it is.
I want you to know
I
love Waterworld as
have
much as
seen
you do.
that movie way too many times.
Once is one. It's way too many times.
No, you didn't watch it in your youth. I bet I've seen this movie 20 times at least.
I wish this movie had found me in my youth.
It was part of my
I would have
childhood.
grown into a better person.
You would have. That's true.
Dice of Destiny.
All right, Dice of Destiny is this fun game we play at the end of every episode. We roll a 6-sided dice to see who's responsible for rolling the Dice of Destiny, a 20-sided dice with 20 different game genres assigned to it. Finally, we roll a 6-sided dice to see how much money that person can spend on their Dice of Destiny pick. They find a game in that price for that in that genre. They pick it, play it, review it. Last week, I gave this whole spiel and then was duped. Duped by my own producer.
Okay, just relax, okay? It was
looking like an asshole on live podcast television.
That didn't make any sense. Okay, it's not live, it's not television. But yeah, you did look stupid. That's true. I guess there's that. So Aaron did pick a game. He did pick a game this time, and we've got a voicemail for him.
Hey everybody, it's Aaron. Hey, I rolled a 2D game, the other week. I forget which week it was. It was like a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I don't know. I blame Peterson for everything. Anyway, so I rolled a 2D game, and the game I chose is Core Keeper. It just came out. It's by Pugstorm, published by Fireshine Games, and stay tuned next week for the review.
So Aaron picked Core Keeper. Have you heard of this game?
Core Keeper.
Yeah, if you read
sounds dope.
If you read the voicemail transcription, he says, I picked Core Keeper, and it says Corky Purr. I don't know what that is.
Killing it, Google.
Corky.
This looks like Undermine kind of. What is this?
Yeah. So this game is new, and it has popped up 100 times on my. It's like, hey, this seems like a game you would like. It is a early access online co-op pixel graphics 2D adventure type of game. Let's see. It says mine, build, fight, craft, and farm to unravel the mystery of the ancient core.
Does Steam tell you? Does anyone give you an indication of a game that it might be like, that it's similar to? I can't really gather that from the descriptions.
Yes. So hold on. It says, let me see.
Is it kind of like a survival?
More like this: Starbound, Stardew Valley.
Oh, okay.
Forager.
Stardew Valley type of game.
Yeah, it looks like more combat than Stardew Valley.
Yeah, it does look like a decent amount. It's like a top-down pixel kind of graphics game. It does look a lot like Stardew Valley. It's a lot
like the aesthetic looks like Stardew Valley.
Yeah, the pixel. I don't know how else to describe it.
It looks darker than that though, but
this is currently 10% off on Steam, and even out without 10% off, it's $13.
Yeah, actually, I've thought about getting this game several times.
This is the quintessential Dice of Destiny pick right here.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron fucking gets it. This is why we have the game. Like you said, this is something you've been looking at. It's been on your radar, it keeps popping up, and Dice of Destiny comes along and it forces your hand. This is so cool. I'm so excited to hear his review on this.
Same.
Okay, so I hope we'll have Aaron on next week. Tell us more about Core Keeper. Corky
Purr.
And when was the last time any of you watched Corky Romano? All right. On that note, we've got some music
from the theme from Corky Romano.
The theme music from does Corky Romano have a score?
Okay.
Who was the score for Corky Romano?
Why? Oh man.
I don't know. We may be playing the mountain theme music from Valheim, or we could be playing some song that Peterson found
from the Corky Romano soundtrack.
The Corky Romano soundtrack.
Oh gosh,
dude, they don't even have someone like on IMDb credited as like the sound designer. Like the Chris Kattan did the sound for this movie.
It's all done by his mouth. You're gonna hate it.
Yeah, just sound effects. He's like, whatever, I'll figure it out. Okay, guys. Well, on that note, go see Corky Romano, 2001's favorite son. I'm JD, logging off.
This is Peterson going AFK.
Patterson Productions. Oh, yeah.